Right, good evening. It's 6:02 p.m. and I'm going to call to order the December meeting of the Hooper Valley Parks and Recreation District. Welcome, everyone. First item is to take comments from the general public. I'm thinking we should maybe switch things up and start with people online
Okay. All right,
if they would like to.
sure. We have two people online. If you could please raise your hand if you would like to comment. Okay, I see Kate McBride. I will go ahead and click the allow to talk. So Kate, we can hear you now. If you unmute first.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, great. All right. This is, should I just go ahead and start?
Yep.
Okay. This pertains to some stuff you'll discuss a little bit later in your agenda. But I think after listening to a lot of people talk over the last few months, that you're probably going to, we are going to be more likely to pass one ballot measure versus two. And so if you guys decide to do one measure or two, I would lobby to start with the levy. And I believe that the levy makes more sense because I think the public message will make more sense that we need to save Parks and Rec period before we build something. Because if we build something first and then we don't, we aren't physically have that figured out, it may not function at all, like some other places we know around Oregon. So, I think if you guys are going to pick to do one or the other, that the levy should go first. And, I know that means that the pool may shut down or may partially shut down because it's going to be a longer time till we get the pool. But I just think it'd be more prudent to go this direction. I kind of feel like for myself, if I don't have enough money in my budget for the essentials, electricity, I can't to eat, I'm running behind and I'm using up my savings to do that. I'm certainly not going to add on to my house and get more mortgage on it. I'm going to just take the route that says, let's figure out the money thing first and then add more debt on. Also, the other things that I think you guys are going to discuss is if you're going to cut things, and I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on that. One of the things that I think you shouldn't cut if the levy passes is the pool. And the reason I think that is that you can't duplicate the pool anywhere else. I mean, there are other trails, there are other parks, there's state parks, there's city parks, there's the National Scenic Area, there's county land, there's all these places to recreate, but the swimming pool cannot be duplicated. It's the only thing that you guys do that no one else does. And so for me, having a year-round indoor pool, I feel that should be maintained above all else. The other thing I just wanted to tell you that no matter what you choose to do it in an equitable way. You're going to cut one program and keep the rest, however you decide to do it. I'm committed to helping with the campaign, whatever that campaign is for Parks and Rec into the future, whether it's a bond now, a levy now, both now. I'm with you all the way and I will support you. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
Perfect timing there too.
All right, and now we have Nancy, and I will go ahead and click talk there for Nancy. Okay, Nancy.
Can you hear me?
Once you unmute, you should be able to talk. Yep.
You can hear me okay? Okay, thanks.
You can.
I submitted this stuff, but I submitted it very late, so I'm just going to speak briefly. I want the new pool, and I like Kate. Kate and I didn't coordinate any of this stuff, but like her, I will actively support whatever choice you make to do the pool first, the levy first, whatever. I think all of it's important. I do have mixed feelings because I think it might be easier to pass the pool with additional time for outreach and the listening and responding. And it also might be easier to pass one measure at a time. at the same time, I recognize that this stretches a timeline that's been stretched for a long time. And I get the sense that everybody in the room there is kind of tired of this. Um, and I understand that, and I don't want any of you to burn out and just not care about it. So I am concerned about that. I do have one comment about the pool possibly failing in the interim. I've heard so many people scoff at predictions like the pool's going to fail, and their responses are, well, it hasn't failed yet. And why are we being proactive? Why don't we wait until it fails? It probably won't fail. And I just, probably most of you were around here in 2010 with the library district. And if you look at my written comments, I have the numbers and of the levy that they proposed in May, 70 cents per $1,000, and it was shot down by a margin of 54 to 46. It was proposed again for 39 cents per thousand in November 2010, and it was approved by 53% to 47%, and a lot more people voted. The closure got more people interested, and they looked hard at the proposal, and they talked to people, and I remember some of those discussions, and they cut it back to the point where people have approved it. And I was a Star Wars fan, and I still am. And Yoda always said that failure is the best teacher. And I think in this case, the pool failing might help our community really understand what the pool means to all of us, and make it real. So I'm not that concerned if the pool fails. I won't like it, but I'm not that concerned. So that's all.
Thank you, Nancy. Has anyone else?
Yes, we have Rachel Hyde and Sherry Ann. If either of you would like to talk, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay, and
We
nothing.
can also circle back at the end.
Okay, we'll move on to the people in the.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, great. Sign-in sheet. Let's go with that. Oh. Is this- Maybe we should continue.
Yep, you should be, yes, please.
Okay, well, I'm reading. What is that?
Well, do we have anyone else talk, are you guys planning to talk today?
Well, I think Jane's up first. You don't.
No, good.
There's a guest, but yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'm.
I was gonna speak.
Yeah.
Just really briefly, because I have also this very much in common with Kate and Nancy. I have been saying for a while that I think we're moving too quickly with the pool and that I don't think it's likely to necessarily pass the amount of money that I've heard people being very concerned about. One thing I wanted to bring up is, I think it was at the two city council meetings ago, I think it was Doug Stepina or the mayor were bringing up a couple of points about when it came to the ICE rates. We are a community that is 30% Latino in Hood River County, and I believe there are some opportunities for, just given our agricultural and our community mix, to look for grants that specifically might target a certain demographic that we offer. That's just one idea. I also believe that you should start with the levy to keep things going as much as possible in parks, and the obvious concern is lots of bonds, lots of other entities maybe, or several other entities may be asking for bonds, and you're going to be competing with people who are strapped for money. But I agree with Nancy. I've thought about it too, that the failure of the pool, I think, will eventually, one way or another, it's going to get replaced, a matter of when. From what I hear from people in the community, they are tight on money, and this is going to be a really hard task right now. But if we build more education and continue to put out the word over the next year, it has a much better chance, I think, and build some more foundation or grant money.
Thank you, Dina. Jeff, you like to speak?
I understood that members of the board, the foundation may be able to participate later.
Yes, yeah,
So did you get my comments?
yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So you don't need to Yeah,
Me too.
okay. Charlie, would you like to do public
We'll
comment
do this separate.
later? Okay.
Later.
All right, Linda, would you like to do public
Yeah,
comment?
what that is, how late is that gonna be?
Oh, no, public, they are on the foundation board, so the Charlie and Jeff and Rachel, so they're actually gonna be part of the conversation for one agenda item.
What is that?
It's just it's item 6, where this board will be collaborating with the foundation board to talk about bond timing components and so on, since they are the fundraising arm. So they are choosing not to do public comment right now because they will be in that conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
Didn't mean to delay you for the.
Oh, no.
So Linda Maddox, put over. And can I guess.
Yes,
I didn't
yeah,
ask you about
yes.
So, I read the comments, I read Jeff's comments, which I don't always agree with, but I thought he made some very good comments on this. And I know he's worked hard for it. And I especially agree with Nancy Roach's comments as well. And I think that the board, I mean, you're gonna have to make some choices about what you want to do and how you want to approach this whole thing. And just to clarify about the library, Heather Staten and I walked out of the meeting of dealing with loss of the library and walked out of the library. It was a meeting, a community meeting. And we just looked at each other and I said to her, we've got to get this library open again. That's the kind of, and I'm not saying it strongly enough because the voice seems to be losing me, but that's the kind of thing you have to feel to really pass something. You gotta say, this is what we want, and we are gonna work our tails off for it. And every board member needs to be on board, because you were asking about that, Jeff. I thought that was a good point in your comments. And everybody needs to be, okay, it's not that you're all gonna do the same thing or not, but you're gonna have to run a campaign, and running campaigns work. And we had that, and we did that work, and we got the library open. And against lots of odds, that's some of them voted on anyway in the fall. But the same passion, you have to, it's a passion thing, it's a convincing everybody to know. And it's also being very careful about what you do. You cannot just pass out fancy literature. You actually, going door to door, doing all the hard work is really what's necessary. And I think that's what wasn't included in the past measures. You actually have to talk to people and particularly the Parks Board and the people that are working for Parks. And so it's something. So anyway, I'm reading all this and I'm getting like jacked up, as you can tell. And I thought, Linda, you're telling that old person by borrowing this in their place, but they did it, that you've got to have that spark. And that pushes you onward, and then you may lose. Yeah, you may lose, and you may have to come back. And I agree with Nancy. If you close the pool, and let people pay a little bit, and then people work harder. But it's running a campaign's hard, and but when you win, it's very satisfying. And I would hope for that.
Thank you, Linda.
I'm so sorry.
No, good time. Rachel, would you like to do public comment? Welcome, Chris. Would you like to do public comment?
I sent mine in
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
so I
Okay,
don't have anything to say.
great. Check back online.
Looks like, Sherry Ann, right now, if you would like to do public comment, you need to click the raised hand button. Otherwise, we're going to move on the agenda. And so we will,
Go ahead and close public comment. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts. Okay, on to the minutes. It's the next item. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve.
They look good to me.
Okay.
Agreed. I moved it. I'll approve both of them. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Marcus still on?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
True. Yes, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and recreation report.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Gio Magana. I'm the recreation assistant. I'm part of the recreation and sports department through Parks and Rec. And if I don't know who's, can we go to the next slide?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So I'm the recreation assistant, and then our recreation supervisor is Jaime Rivera. He's working actually at the Adult Chess League. So he's there right now, and I'll be presenting today. So here we have our fall programs. We have our youth activities and sports. We had Soccer Tots, which are 3 to 5-year-olds. We had about 75 kids sign up for that program. And then we had our mini World Cup program, which is kinder through 2nd grade. We had about 210 kids signed up for that program. So we had roughly 20 teams signed up for that in the fall. And all of our fall programs ended already. So we're on to winter. But this is just some of the programs we did this past fall. And then Columbia Gorge Youth Soccer League. This was a contracting program, so we helped with their game management. So we hired a couple of high school soccer players from Hood River Valley to help us with game management on Friday evenings. So that worked well. They their board really appreciated that. So we wanted to keep our partnership with them. So we helped with their game management this past fall, and that worked really well. And then we had our middle school preseason hoops league, which was our first year running that. So this is something that we run in the fall before middle school has their middle school basketball league in the winter. So we had about 30 kids signed up for that. And it was a good turnout. We had Coach Bim Lloyd help with that, and he formed 3 teams for that. It was a great turnout, and yes, very successful program. Planning on doing it again next year. And then we had our fall dance academy. These are 4 to 7-year-olds. Very popular program that's growing every season. So now we have a summer one, a fall one, and a spring one, and a winter one. So we have one every season now. And then we had our adult activities as well in sports. We had an adult kickball league, which had 4 teams. And then that is something we plan to run in the spring this season. Just because we did have a lower number this season, so we're gonna aim for making it here in the spring. And then our adult basketball leagues, we have a men and women division. We had 7 teams for the men and then 4 teams for the women. And that's a league that's also growing every year. And then adult cornhole league, one of the most popular adult programs. Believe it or not, we had 18 teams for that, teams of 2 to 4 players. So that's something we're actually running this winter. We're gonna try to do a winter indoor cornhole league, which is new. Yeah, so it's I take part of it, and it's really fun. It's something that adults enjoy, and yeah, definitely something that's growing. And then we started a beginner mountain biking program that had 4 participants. It was our first year, and Trails Diverged helped us with that. And then our adult tennis league, it was our first year running it as well. Right after the summer, before fall, we had 34 participants for that, and they did a superstar challenge. So they just they show up on Sundays, they play for a couple hours, and winner keeps going. It's a winner sport kind of thing. Losers come down. They played here at Suruta Courts, and it was a great turnout. We had a end of the season barbecue thing. So we plan to run it again in the spring. We're gonna aim for something in the spring for that. And then we have our adult roller hockey, which is more of it's a private group, but they start late summer and end early spring. And they play in the Armory. So, and they have a Tuesdays intermediate and Thursdays they have an advanced group. And it's about 20 players on each day. So yeah, really popular program as well.
So just give us.
I think, yeah. And this is our adult kickball and youth soccer coaches night. So we always appreciate our volunteer coaches through our youth soccer. They have about 40 plus volunteer hours, just coaching. And so we wanted to do an appreciation event for them and take them out for pizza at Adult Mountain. And then we also had an adult kickball celebration. Adult kickball, we had a challenge. It was a little bit of a challenge with that with the group, just because we had one team that wasn't showing up on some games, which made it difficult for other teams who were showing up every game. So at the end of the championships, we decided, let's take him out for some pizza, get the group together. We want this program to grow. We don't want to lose it. So yeah, we took him out for pizza as well after the championships. So. And then I wanted to talk here about our relationship with the school district, the River County School District. So I want to highlight Dan Barnard he's an interim principal at Main Street Elementary School. So we are running somewhat new programs, so more music programs, choir, drum lessons, piano lessons, guitar lessons this winter. And Dan Barnard, so we went around and we have this partnership with the school district. We communicate with the principals, with the teachers, etc. And it was very difficult to find a facility because it could be somewhat distracting when you have like music going around, when you have like after school program going around. Champions is one of them, and Excel is another one. So Dan Barnard, we want to highlight him because he was super welcoming and was like, yes, they have pianos as well. So it really helped us get that facility. And so, yeah, he was just very welcoming and we really appreciate him. So we just wanted to highlight that. And yeah, we're going to be able to run our piano lessons it's a first time program. They're at May Street. So, and we have about 10 kids signed up. Hopefully we can get 10 more. So, yeah. And then we have scheduling. So this is a challenge we've had. So gym availability at the schools. There's a new scheduling system for that. So they went from our school today to Facilitron now. But it's been a little bit challenging just because there's not a so our school today had this calendar view of where you can see who had what facility and what time. And now it's really challenging for us to see that. You have to do extra clicks to kind of like find out if it's open or not, or if it's available or not. So there's a lot of gyms that were blocked off for a lot of PTO events. And that was a challenge for us. Just we have a lot of kids that play basketball this year, right? So we have about 200 plus kids playing basketball. And as you know, there's not a lot of gym availability. So and our partnership with the school, allows us to reserve those gyms. So just finding out that, PTO had that, these are their kids too. These are their students. And it was kind of difficult to work around that sometimes, where there's not a lot of gym space. So if there's something blocked off, it's very challenging for us to find new gyms very last minute sometimes, so that's just a challenge we had on there. And yeah, just the new facility scheduling. It's a new software. Still getting familiar with it. But yeah, there's not a whole like calendar view, which makes it difficult. So just wanted to point that out. And then this winter we worked with teachers to help us promote youth basketball. We were very low on numbers in the Upper Valley, so Mid Valley and Parkdale, very low. Because we have great partnership and great relationships with the teachers there and the principals, we were able to find a solution for that. We were able to fill teams. We didn't want to miss anybody. We didn't want the kids to miss an opportunity or any families to miss an opportunity to play basketball this season. So we reached out to teachers, to families, and principals so that we made sure we were fill those teams. And something new we're doing is a weekly communication to Stephanie to help us promote our programs. So Stephanie Hoppy she's a communications director at the school district. So she sends out newsletters to the school district, and we are working with her so that no family is missing an opportunity to sign up their child for our youth sports. And then these are our current winter programs. Some of them have started, some of them are starting in the new year. Youth Basketball League has practices started already. Little Baller starts in February. Our Youth Indoor Soccer League starts in mid-January. School or middle school ski and snowboard starts in January. Youth Snow shoeing starts it's one day. It's in January. And then we have our youth baseball hitting camp starts in January as well. And then our new music programs, guitar lessons, drum lessons, piano lessons, theater, music builders, and choir. And then our dance academy again this winter. And then our adult programs, women's indoor soccer league, volleyball co-ed league, adult chess league, adult snowshoeing, adult indoor cornhole league, and then our adult roller hockey programs. And then this will be our spring outlook. So we have registration open for our youth sports on our new software called Kaizen. Going well so far. We opened up soccer tots, 3 to 5 year olds, mini World Cup, track and field, and our new basketball tournament, which is 3-on-3. So we have that, and then we have our youth chess league, and then our youth rocketry as well. And then dance again in the spring. And then our adult sports, we're aiming to open up tennis league, kickball, and our mountain bike camp. And any questions regarding any of those? Yeah, Jason.
Can I get your opinion? One of the things that was coming up in the last meeting as far as potential cuts if the levy and without was adult programming. So I'd love to hear your take on how much work and effort goes into the adult programming and if it's worth your time. I
Yeah.
assume it is, but just like to
Yeah.
hear your word on it.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of effort that goes into it. And these adults are also parents. You know, a lot of these adults are also parents, so I think it's important for them to also, you know, have some fun. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for the community. Obviously, not as much as youth. We're not prioritizing adult over youth either. You know, our take is always youth first and adult second. But we always are trying to think outside the box. You know, with the bond levy not going through and our department, you know, like you said, not sure if it's gonna work out, you know, we always are kind of treating it like a business and thinking outside the box, getting new programs. Just like the youth guitar, all the music programs, right? Those are new. And then same with adult programs, you know, expanding, you know, getting new programs out there. But it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of good work. And I think it's good for the community. And so I think Jaime and Jaime is he's a mentor for me. He was my high school coach. So and we won state championships together. So he's been great. He's a hard worker, and you know, he's helped me grow as a person and as a employee here. So I feel like we're trying to, you know, expand and just grow from here. And whatever happens. But you know, I'm big on I'm gonna give it my all. So you know, I love my work. I love my job. I love this job. I love my coworkers. So yeah, I'm gonna work my butt off to keep the department alive. So yeah, hope that answers your question a little bit. Yeah.
Can you tell me, back on the winter and the fall slides,
Yeah.
what the approximate ratio of youth to adults served in those programs were? So one more slide back. Yeah, that's the fall slide. And I mean, maybe the winter slide's a little bit more in your mind right now, but how many youth are in all of those programs? How many adults are in all those programs approximately?
How many adults, like individual adults, are in each program?
Sure,
Or-
just, I mean, like,
or the program
yeah.
in general.
In general, like how many youth would you say are served in all the winter programs happening right now? How many adults are served in all the programs right now?
A lot more youth for sure. But so volleyball is probably our biggest adult program, and they have about 24 teams. There's about eight, there's about 8 to 10 players per team. So that's probably the program that serves the most for adults. And then youth, I mean, youth soccer and youth basketball is huge, you know, 200 plus kids and 300, 400 for soccer, for 200 for basketball, and about 300 to 400 for soccer. And then
And sorry, what would probably be helpful is if we have the data, and it's very easy to
Yeah.
find the data as well, so I appreciate like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah.
No, and you're very accurate
Yeah.
on it, but I think that like maybe at the next meeting when we are talking about some of those, we can actually show up with a report
Yeah.
which kind of shows that. We can break it out with revenue and participation numbers and things
I mean,
like
I
that,
can-
that'll
yeah.
help.
I can pull it up. It might take me a while.
I was gonna say, gee,
Yeah.
and the person I'm gonna ask.
He's like,
to
"Oh,
pull that
go on,
together
I
is
can
you,
do it."
so,
Yeah, right, yeah, no, I know most of the numbers from
Yeah.
from each program, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
thank
mean,
you.
we serve, yeah, I mean, probably
But that still gives us a sense.
three to
Yeah.
4 times
Yeah.
more than
240
adults.
adults.
Yeah,
Kids are in the hundreds, adults are in the
yeah.
teens,
Probably,
tens of.
I did ask Jaime how many adults, and I think the number was 800 for the year.
Yeah,
800 adults served. I'd have to, and I think we're in the thousands, but I'd have to go back.
I mean, soccer alone's also 500,
yeah,
so.
yeah, soccer alone is, yeah.
For kids.
Cool. Thank you, Jake.
In terms of your view, any feedback on the new registration system? I know it's new.
The
New.
Kaizen,
Yeah,
um,
or your thoughts on it? I know that was a big shift.
Yeah.
Over the last year.
yeah, it's very user friendly. Yeah, I mean, the language on there is very, very, say, it's easy to read. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to maneuver the software. So I think it's a lot better than what we had.
Okay, yeah, early
Just,
days.
just,
early
yeah,
days. Okay.
yeah.
No, and then
As simple as, yeah.
the other, if you had any thoughts or feedback on that scheduling system with the school district? And
Yeah.
I know you said there were challenges, but how is that impacting program?
There has to be some communication between us and the school district now. So the school district has a facilities director. So we have to reach out to them to find out what's reserved, like who's taking the space. So it is like extra communication, extra clicks, and that's what's making it the process a little longer. And that makes it a little bit challenging. And with our school today, we were all able to see the calendar view of who had what and what time, and right away. Now you have to kind of click through everything, check out, and then see, okay, it's not available. Now I have to reach out to Lori Hicks, the facilities director, and find out who took the spot and if it's someone that's over our priority, or if it's, someone that we can maybe work with and find out if we can, open up the space for us and work something out. So yeah, it's a calendar view that makes it very challenging for us to work. But yeah, just programming, when you're programming, you usually do you reserve a facility.
Yeah.
Now we do a program on one software and then the facilities on a different software. So it's 2 softwares right now that we're working, which makes it a little challenging as well.
It's really like 4 softwares when Lori Hicks is also then having to program the
Yes.
door locks
Doors
on a
is-
separate software system and lights on a separate software system, so it's.
Yeah.
I wish it was better integrated. We had
Yeah.
kind of pushed for something that was better integrated, but.
Yeah. Yeah, so she at one time at our school today, Facilitron, and then the doors software.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me and her have a separate spreadsheet where every time I enter a facility, I have to make sure that I enter into the spreadsheet so that doors are programmed to unlock at a specific time. So
And
it's
we
really,
also do not have the
Read access.
read
Yeah.
access to ensure that if a program is running, that the doors will actually be unlocked.
Yeah.
So, that's where we run into programs with doors actually not being unlocked.
Yeah, so right now we're just relying on the spreadsheet with Lori Hicks.
And hoping it got.
And hoping yeah, and there's been times where it says, say it is unlocked, but it's not when you get to the facility.
But we are in conversation with the school district about improving all of those things. And then to answer Mike, your question, and this is the numbers for the year 24-25 ending in June, it's 24-25 year. 3,205 youth and 824 adults. So
Thank you.
When you give those numbers, are those non-duplicative? Like, can you say, or is it like if Marcy did basketball and cornhole, does that count as two or does that count as?
That is the participants in the program, so it certainly could be repeat customers.
I have one other suggestion, since you're here too, since you guys are going and have taken on so much, like arts and expression. There used to be a really solid program that went on in the community ed where they would put on play, if you could find the right director. And it had 40 to 80 kids that were there all year long. They met once a week and then they would tell me end with a performance for the different age groups. And it was extremely popular. And if you guys could find the right director, I saw you had Duncan doing the music stuff.
Yeah.
If there was someone else who could do the plays, like that could be a really big generator of finding a weekly class for kids to do. It was hugely popular. I mean, my kid did 3.
What was it? What was it? Sorry.
Well, they would put on a musical. They would
Yeah.
put on a kid's
Yeah.
musical.
So
In the
that's
summer,
right.
They did
Yeah.
a whole program.
Yeah,
in the
they would do, like they would do a 2-week program where they would do.
Teddy?
Yeah, Teddy,
Yeah,
he doesn't live
Teddy.
here anymore. He lived,
Yeah.
but
Right.
there's other directors probably in town and maybe we can talk offline, but anyways, just seeing how many how many expression things you guys are
Yeah.
doing now. That could be a really,
In the
Yes.
theater, we have a theater week for summer kids camp,
Yeah.
and it is, I think it was probably one of our highest attended.
yeah.
summer kids
In
camp.
this town,
Yeah.
they've been wanting to do like those musicals again, because a lot of people who used to see them and watch their kids in them. And I'm sure you would find
Yeah.
40 to 80 participants quite fast.
Yeah, and the plan is so the participants that take part in that musical theater and then dance, they do have a performance at the end of their program. So yeah, towards the end, they get to perform in front of their families. So
Cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gio.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple items.
Yep. This has been an exciting week when you work so long on a project and you actually get to start like opening escrow to purchase a property and things like that. But we are at the point now where hopefully by the end of the calendar year, we will own Parkdale Park. We got the contract from the state and we just needed to have your approval for signature. And so Christie will be the one as board president to sign that and then also to sign the deed when we get the property. So I just need a motion to approve Christie, the signing authority, to sign the contract from the state to accept the grant money, and then a motion to for her to be able to accept the park and to be able to sign the deed.
Okay, I make a motion to let Christie do all those things with, yeah.
I second that.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And next, ODOT's grant reimbursement. This one haven't talked about in a little while, but just as a refresher, we applied for a grant through ODOT for the Indian Creek Trail a few years ago, 2023, I believe is when we first did it. They gave us some false information on our eligibility for the grant, and we spent some money on an option contract for the Campbell property, and some engineering money and some other things. After we got awarded the grant and then found out that that the grant would not actually pay for the land, as they had stated earlier, we did not accept the grant, but we were able to go back to ODOT and argue our case. They were gracious enough to admit their mistakes and offer to pay back most of our option fees. We did not get back the money for the design, but the option fees. Now, the problem was that they've been trying to figure out how it is that they can get the money to us because of a lot of the kind of color of money sort of things with ODOT and how their grant money comes in and how to get it to us. They can only give funding to groups that have a current transportation contract with them because of the type of money they're using as transportation money. They have we reached out to CAT Cat had a current contract with them. Cat agreed to accept the money from ODOT and then pass it through to us. We checked with legal as well, just to make sure that it was okay with legal. And our attorney Ruben Cleveland is actually also the attorney for Cat. And he said that absolutely this is okay with him. And he has reviewed this IGA between us and Cat. Once this IGA is signed, we'll work with Cat on it. They're going to take a $2,500 administrative fee, which I think is completely fair because what they're doing is taking kind of their general fund money and giving that to us or sending that over to us and then accepting the transportation money that has some, the transportation strings attached and such too. So we appreciate that they're helping us out in this way and able to pass through the money to us. So that is what the IGA is. It's actually the Cat District Board is meeting tonight as well, and their board is looking at this exact same IGA right now, and hopefully will be approving it as well. So once it is approved by both, if you go ahead and give me the authority, I'll be able to sign the IGA for them.
I put forward a motion to approve the IGA as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Okay. And okay, you're slightly into
Okay.
so.
All right, so the next item is to have a collaborative discussion with the foundation. And so would like those who are here from the foundation to come join the table for this discussion. And we can start with that. And I'll kind of explain a little bit, and we have some structure, but to some degree, it's kind of a open discussion. Yes.
I wish you didn't hear that. Want to still for a bit more?
So I'll ask you to do introductions in just a second here. But my hope is that we can talk collaboratively about how we might want to approach fundraising for the pool. And that factors into the timing discussion as well. So we'll probably want to touch on that together. And talk about, your desired approach for fundraising. And I say also want to make clear that both Marcy and I are also on the foundation board as ex officio board members on that board. So we are in both roles. And we wanted to make sure to have a way to have you on the agenda so we could actually kind of talk back and forth, because public comment is not formatted in that way. But then we also have it set up in the agenda where we will close that discussion when it gets to a good closing point, and then move on to the district board, hopefully making some decisions tonight. So that's my hope for how we can structure it. And with that, I want to start with you all just making introductions, and then we can go from there.
I'm Rachel Sue Hyde. I am on the foundation. I was also a part of the previous 2024 bond and levy measure effort on the PAC. And I'm currently also on the pool committee, foundation pool committee. I'm not on it, but part of the foundation, we have a subcommittee going. And I'm a master swimmer.
I'm Charlie Webster. I have tried to hang with the master swimmers, but they're a pretty impressive group. Probably middle of the pack, middle of the end, but it's great fun. Yeah, I've served on the board of Friends of the Columbia Gorge for 8 years, and been in and around this community for a long time. I haven't lived here full time until just about a year and a half ago. Happy to be contributing in this way.
Yeah. There.
You know, long time, all of you knowing. I've been trying to be a supporter, sometimes I'm a thorn. But I really support parks and I support your work. And I really feel for the difficulty of this decision that you're facing tonight. So look forward to discussing it with you.
So I wrote down two discussion points, the timing question and the approach for fundraising. And I do have slides from the memo of the timing question, and I also have a slide about potential components to fundraise for if we approach it that way. Now, at least, well, Jeff, you submitted public comment. So I know you may want to say more, but you also didn't say anything yet and we're waiting. So now feels like the appropriate time to weigh in. And I'll say as a foundation, we did not get to the point of saying, here's our recommendation, this idea has emerged based on meetings we've had recently and continuing to listen to the public, which of whom there are various, there's many opinions, and so it's not a clear answer. But that's partially why the foundation is not coming forward today with an explicit, we think it should be this way or that way. So Charlie, do you want to start with your input?
Can we focus just on the first part? Can we just focus on the first part, the timeline?
The timing,
That was
yeah,
I just like, just to not muddy the waters yet.
Yes, yeah.
Reach the timeline, like whether to go.
I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear what everyone's opinion on whether we move forward in May or not.
Yeah.
For bonds specifically,
So a couple thoughts, and I'll try and give voice to the broader foundation board's perspectives here. I think first, we're new. We've been around just barely a year. We don't have a great sense of our capacity to raise money and timelines is the candid truth. We were pretty excited about our ability to get some traction around the Indian Creek Trail project. But when we step back and say, hey, how much could we raise for this pool? It's a little bit of a guess. And that's just the way we stand before you today. Having said that, there's tremendous support for the district in general and for this project in specific. When we kind of asked each other how much did we think we could chip in, the answers varied quite a bit from 500K to a couple million. And but I think that's actually a reasonable, workable range, because it says something very strong right away, which is we're not gonna make this thing happen. It's obviously the bond that will make it, and we'll supplement it. On that point, I think we are increasingly comfortable, but love to make sure that's true for you as well, with this collaborative approach where we're supplementary, picking amenities that are of value to the community, evidencing that there are people in the community to step forward and contribute to specific things that can contribute, but that the functional, safe, accessible foundation of the pool structure would need to be done by the bond. There's a little bit of gray in the middle of that. We'd have to figure out together, some great ideas like roll up doors and skylights, and how do you figure that out in the process of design and build? We'd have to navigate that stuff, but I think we'd like the concept, and of course we like the project. I think the last thing I would say is, like you, we see risk in going ahead. We want to be successful. I think as a new foundation, as a new entity, we're very sensitive about how we are perceived in the community. I think the best perception is, hey, when these folks push ahead on something, they tend to make it happen. They do what they say. They're serious and they know their stuff. So that would be my main concern, and I believe that Jeff will speak to that as well. We want to make sure that the district is rock solid in their conviction, and that together we all have enough time to be successful. That would be, I think, the only point of hesitation, so to speak, about the project is, do we have enough time, and are we tackling it in as effective a manner as is required, given the challenges in front of us?
So I was reading through the comments because I didn't see those before I came to the meeting, and I'm curious who wrote the letter after Nancy.
Coco,
Coco, the one that was advocating for me.
Yeah.
So this
Oh,
is
and
important.
Chris as well.
But
Yeah,
this one's
no, no,
specific
but
to
I
the
was
student
about to-
study.
Oh,
that one.
I think.
I do not envy you all this decision. I have having been on the pack, I have some concerns about not having more time to build those relationships. But is it gonna be effective or not? I don't know. I think that there's been a certain amount of momentum that's happened so far, that if you decide not to go with 2026 and go to 2027, then how that gets worded as to why, like, there's been this big momentum and buildup of this is really important to wait. Oh, we're gonna wait a year. And we're gonna ask for a levy when we don't know if we're gonna have a pool. It just has to be worded really well, and clearly as to what the decision making is behind that. I also worry about just people's energy for continuing to go out into the community. And while I think the foundation may be able to do more, there's also the chance of inflation and like how much more is that gonna be able to bring about? I do think at the end of the day, it's gonna really be the bond that is gonna who's gonna be here or not be here. We can do grant, we've all talked about that. So I think there's pros and cons, and I think everybody has different perspectives from different community members about what's gonna be the most successful. If I had to pick today, I'm sorry, I would say go 2026, because if it fails, you pass down the line, you build up again. But I realize that there's a lot of risk with that, and I think there's risk with both. And I think it comes down to messaging and then what people are gonna be willing to step up to do. And yeah, I also, to Nancy's point, and to like your experience with the library, it took it imposing for us to rally as a community and decide that it was worth it. So I don't know if I said anything helpful, but yeah.
I'm retired,
Baloney.
so I've got time, and I've been talking quite a bit to people. Had a nice talk with Mike Shend yesterday. Talked with Mike McCarthy, a lot of other people that I know, and I'm really afraid that there is not nearly enough time to build support for this. It's a big ask. I mean, we looked at our own house and somewhere, if we take the third option, to be $800+ a year. I can afford it, I'll vote for it, but I know a lot of others who won't. And the very people that should be voting for it won't. It seems to me from what I've heard lately that there's another giant in the closet here, and that is the trajectory that Parks is going right now with its current maintenance budget is heading towards a crash down there somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misinterpreted that. But it seems like the much more important thing right now is to have a maintenance budget for this district that it will keep you going for the long run and maybe growing in some other areas as you have. So I agree with Nancy that I think that the safest thing to do is to try to get the maintenance budget. And if that doesn't pass, well, then that the other one wouldn't have passed. So maybe that's getting your feet in the water, but I think this foundation has great potential. We were really kind of surprised ourselves when we finally got organized to raise money for the land purchase, that we just started out roaring here. Of course, we had a lot of pledges to collect, but we brought in a lot of money quick. And if we have everything's perfect, we can be powerful. I drive by realize how many billionaire houses there are in this valley now. I mean, somebody needs to go up and knock on their door and make my day. You know, people can do that out there. And I think that we just need, you know, at the minimum, we need a year to try to put this together. And I don't want to see the foundation put in a situation, it's my own personal opinion, of trying to raise a whole bunch of money in such a short time. I was really taken aback at how long it took us to just get all the things together to raise money for this this trail purchase. I didn't realize that, and I think we've got a story to tell to a lot of people, and it's just going to take time. That's it. Thank you.
Do any of you want to speak to what the fundraising might look like in the 2026 timeline versus the 2027 timeline?
Before you get into that, I had a question. I mean, what I'm not getting is the fundraising piece. You know, I understand that there's two components I think that we would want the foundation's assistance on: advocacy and fundraising. The fundraising is, you know, best case, this thing passes in May 2026. We may not break ground until February 2027.
Right.
And then that's plus 18 months. I'm just throwing numbers out. Don't anyone quote me in the Columbia Gorge News, but I'm just saying. But so that's your,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, you know, so I'm not of the view that the foundation could contribute fundraising to the pool. Now, I want you, again, my words, with the advocacy piece, because we would have, you know, again, what was that timeline? Break ground in February 2027, pool complete in 2029, August. So, I mean, that's 3 years, potentially, you know, of over that period of time, contributing to the build costs of this pool. If that's, hey, we're gonna, you know, a second splash pad, a third doorway, you know, I mean, those things that would be hugely impactful, but don't have this timeline that wouldn't be reasonable in terms of fundraising.
So I think, Brian, I think we totally agree.
Yeah.
That we're thinking it's an 18-month, could be a 24-month capital raising that the foundation embarks on. We could look at getting pledges, you know, by May. And I don't think we even want to take money before the bond passes, type of thing. But anyway, so I think we agree with your vision there, and there is runway. Back to the other point, though, advocacy, that's where I think the thing rises and falls. Do we have enough time? Do you have enough time? Because basically you guys, I think, unless we decide to help you, which is the discussion topic, you need to find the budget to empower a PR firm and just take off. If that's underway, then we kind of jump into that, but I don't think we want to step out in front of the PR firm, right? So we want to be part of that, aligned with it, with you know, sort of consistent messaging and all the rest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, I think the message back is yes, we agree with a couple year, 18 months raise of money. I think that makes sense. But the big issue is, can the district find the funding and the intensity with which to run an effective campaign in the roughly 5 months to May to influence the public to get behind it? And we would jump into that obviously as much as we can, but I think again, we're not going to lead that. But again, we could potentially contribute money. So if you said, hey, the PR firm is, I'm just making up numbers, was 30,000 or 50,000 or 75,000. Could the foundation contribute something to that? I don't know. We actually haven't had that discussion, but it's possible. I would want to make sure that however we go forward, we think we can make it work, and we're going to talk to different PR firms, and I wouldn't want to go cheap. I want to be successful. I want to over invest early, you know, against such a big bond measure.
Anyone else have 9 questions?
So I mean, when we get to the fundraising aspect, when we start delving into that, I have some other, I have questions on that. I guess just to follow up on what Brian was saying, so you're thinking timeline, you're saying like if they pass it. In or go for it May and passes, like not necessarily, you guys would then continue to fundraise, which would kind of be a nebulous. Which makes it complicated, because you're not sure if like, we're not gonna know like if we can put the sliding doors in time and get the money for it or whatever it might be. So that's your concern.
Yeah, we would need to have some more information
Right.
about those like
Yeah.
dates of.
We would
the
front load the
events,
things that are more time
Yeah.
sensitive, but you're
Yeah,
right.
we would need a lot more information, but that would be, that's sort of our vision, at least,
Yep.
that we've talked about. Just trying to keep the ask to the taxpayers as low as possible, to provide people with what they wanted and what we can try and make the best possible. Well,
Okay.
that's my vision.
Yeah, and we would hold several campaign events, and we've really just started to scratch the surface of that. I'd love to be an advocate out there knocking on doors, doing everything I can.
Fundraising campaign. That's
Fundraising,
right.
yeah.
Election campaign,
Yes,
yes.
thank you.
Generating that interest through the
Yeah.
fundraising.
Yeah.
That then.
But again,
feeds
there has to be
into
this,
support.
somebody's got to quarterback that, to use the sports analogy.
I will say my big, this will come up later, I assume as well, when we're talking just amongst us, but with you guys too, I'd like to hear your input. My bigger, I think the only thing that keeps like red lights in my head when I'm thinking about delay. Is how many city special districts and other departments or staff we're getting.
Mhm.
So I would say with, fairly confident, I feel like if we wait a year, we're gonna now be behind by at least one, probably 2 other departments.
Yeah.
And if we then, and at that point, the odds of us passing at the same time as the county or same as the city, I think nil. I think,
And I mean, adding on to that also, I fully 100% agree. My concern is fatigue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know about the arbitrage piece with people choosing one or the
Right.
other and it's absolutely a concern, but I just think there's a fatigue element there where either if we do one and then the second one, and again, just my read on it is, didn't you guys just do this? You know, it's like, well, no, that was a levy. I mean, I think we went through an education piece with the last election, that, was surprising, honestly, in terms of the way Oregon structures its support for special districts and the lack of understanding. That was, I wasn't prepared for that, but that's where we are, and that's fine.
What do you mean by lack of understanding?
So, and I hate using this word now, assessed value. And measure 5 and
5 and
50. I mean, we know the results of them, but having that really cast a shadow amazingly, and a destructive one. Yeah, again, it's the who are we competing against, and then just fatigue.
What do we know about that in terms of, I talked with Chrissy Reitz at the school board, and she said they're doing a facilities assessment next year, but they had made no decision about whether they're gonna ask for a bond or not.
maybe assessment's done, I thought, but anyways, yeah, that's a potential. How big the city is possible, and the county is possible, so the county's public health and safety, the sheriff department, they need money, and absolutely, that's a huge need.
Courthouse.
Yeah, the courthouse and the construction, and that's just off the top of my head.
The new courthouse you're talking about, the care cost.
Yeah, I might have a little bit more information on those, the county, the courthouse, I don't think they're even thinking about it. I mean, they had a conversation about it, and I think they shut it down real quick. The number is just way too high. And their operation levy thing would go in cycle with their other operation levies, which is every 5 years, and so they passed their most recent one in 2025, so they wouldn't have another one coming up till about 2030. And I've not heard anything about another one in between on that. The school district is probably the closest possibility of something going. It is strange because it's an out of cycle bond. Most of their bonds go every 20 years, and so they passed their last bond in 2016. They have not done a bond like this out of the regular cycle before. And and so I think it would be a smaller bond than their normal one. They're not building schools with it or anything. I think it's more infrastructure and maybe some athletic things. But but they, like Christy had said, they have not made a decision on that yet, but it's kind of, that's the you got the magic 8 ball, that's the all signs point to. The city is a little bit more kind of testing the waters right now. They are doing a statistically valid survey that will be going out really soon to check on things. Their proposals, they really don't have it narrowed down to a very specific thing yet. They've got about 3 or 4 different options that they're going to be testing during their testing, but just speaking as a citizen, I think that if they don't already have a very specific, obvious choice of a thing that they really need, and they don't have a grassroots group coming up and saying, this is what we need, I don't know how their polling is going to go on that. And so I could see them getting their polling back and deciding to back out on that. There is one other that should not affect us, but it could affect us kind of in the public sentiment side of it, kind of like what Brian was saying with, you know, people starting to feel a little, like they're coming again, and that's Cascade Locks. And Cascade Locks is looking at a prepared food and beverage tax in May. For 7% to fund police and fire. But of course, that's not, they're not in the same district with us, but they will be at the same time as us on the same ballot. And so that is the other one. Those are the only ones that I meet with all these guys, like the executive directors of all those groups monthly. And we have checked in multiple times with this, with just as recently as about a month ago or so. And that's about where everyone is right now with everything.
Okay.
The article that came out by the city said that they were looking to place a measure on the November 2026 ballot.
Correct. Both the city and the school district are talking November of 2026. If they do it, but again, the city, not sure.
Right, but that kind of goes against what we would do, what I just heard though, because then if we don't put ours on May 2026, that means we're following May, which is after these guys have potentially gone for 2 things in November.
Right.
So that doesn't prove the point. Okay.
Well, again,
Potential.
the counter argument is like, they're both talking about going in November and they're not concerned about going at the same time as each other. And I think that's the bigger concern, is being at the same time as another big ask versus being after. I mean, being after is a concern too, but to me, the bigger concern is too soon, where people are not on board yet.
Which is why your proposal was for
May.
May or May.
Sure, yeah, May or
Right.
May, yeah.
That's where I would say it's so good to hear all this, and we've talked about it so much, and to have the foundation here to kind of talk more about what they've been doing and what we think. We don't have that crystal ball. And I think about the cost of comfort as well, and that inflation that we've discussed at an annual percent of $2 million.
I don't know, but
And we went out May of 24, ill prepared to go out in November of 24. We're May of 25. We're talking about May of 26 right now. And we were asked by the public to bring the costs down and to really make the most out of everything. And in what we've done and what we presented and what we're looking at, is this ready for another 50 years? There's no community center, there's no extra space, there's not a lot of anything. And pushing another year is another approximately $2 million. And that really leaves me as saying there's not much margin for error, because if it doesn't pass, we're not going down any farther in the cost to give the same back to the next generation. That's okay, comfortability would be great, but we're still talking about the capacity and the speculativeness of what can be done, and having that runway is important. But we know that it's supplemental. The bond is what's really going to matter, and what we need to kind of target right now, and the advocacy is huge. And the foundation's not looking to do it all. They need to get behind and have somebody else take that charge. But what is that cost of comfortability? Because when you start talking about millions of dollars just in inflation, that's difficult for me to really kind of hold on to and not understand why we wouldn't make that push in May. Because if it then doesn't go and then the pool fails, still, we gotta go up. If you want a pool again, we gotta go up.
Is the district sort of united that a PR firm should be retained?
Don't know that we've made that decision.
Yeah, so I would just say you need to. I think, speaking for myself at least, without that, I think we would be much less excited, right? I think we feel that that's necessary to be successful, particularly in this time frame. And so I think it's imperative that you guys figure, not only be pressuring you and all, but I think the time's short, so you have to decide, hey, can we get around this critical decision that we're gonna go forward with it? We can and will hire a PR firm. If you decide you need some funds, then we'll definitely look to help. But then the next question is, can we all retain and execute with the PR firm in this very tight time?
Considering that it takes time to hire a PR firm.
That's right.
And then it takes months to make those
To do
materials.
polling and to do assessments and
Yeah.
then to, yeah.
Just for the Indian Creek Trail fundraiser, it took about, what, 2 months to finalize the communications for a single project that was an opt-in fundraiser. So we have to factor in that timing.
Also, just to use district funds for a PR firm, the entire contract would have to be completely finished and have a final work product before we put it on the ballot is filed.
Yeah.
Even once the ballot is filed, we cannot use public money for anything like this. And so the filing date, I'd have to check with legal to see exactly if they would consider that the filing date of the actual thing, because there's one thing that we have to do like 10 days in advance. But we're looking at the earliest, the third week in February, at the latest, mid-March.
Just to clarify, that would be the dates by when you would have the funds determined to hire a PR firm.
No. That for the PR contract has to be done, like they would have to do all of their work before beginning of March or so. Just because that's what, like, if they were giving me bills and continuing to do work in, that goes towards anything that has to do with the campaign. After the date that it's filed, it's not legal, right? Everything has to be done before that.
So I'm just making it up here, but it is possible that we could step in at that point. Maybe there are different phases in the engagement with the PR firm. The marketing phase, for example, that starts, mid-March or something.
Yeah.
That would be one way to potentially collaborate.
They're a powerful tool. What examples are there of other taxing districts in our area that use public funds to hire a PR firm to pass a measure that they want passed?
I would have to do a little bit more research on that. I do know that there are definitely other public agencies that do hire PR firms for other things, and it's a very appropriate use, I think, of public funds to be able to hire a PR firm, but specifically around passing taxing measures. I do not know.
And for example, there are other districts in this state specifically for Parks and Rec who have communications and marketing employees. Entire departments devoted to, making sure that their message is appropriate.
But also, I mean, 100%, but also to underscore, I'm just trying to think of the last new levy that was considered by the Hood River County. We've had renewals.
It was probably November 2020 with the county. The last one that was passed.
Yeah.
There was public safety levy in November 2020.
Yeah, okay. So that.
Which Kate McBride was a part of that pack.
Right, and that was, so I mean, they don't happen often. Fully new levies. And then in terms of bond, was it 2016 then? Was the last bond?
Here, I have the marks right here. Bond 2016.
Yeah.
School district. I mean, of course, there was the community college renewal, but that wasn't an increase.
Right.
So that was kind of trying.
Well, that's a good distinction.
Gemini
Yeah.
says Yes, it is common practice for communities and public agencies across the western US, particularly in California and the Pacific Northwest, to retain public relations and PR firms to manage messaging and advocacy for bond measures. There are some caveats, but
Yeah. Well, and it's not at that, people need to know what the district does, where the money goes, what's at stake. It's not even that communication is not, oh, vote yes. The communication is, what are you getting from your
Right.
taxpayer
Absolutely.
dollars? What's at stake?
How do you get the message out?
Yeah,
why was this a good deal?
Yeah.
yeah,
What happens if you don't do this?
Yeah.
All kinds of important facts around that.
all the. Information on all the uses of the pool, I've talked to people who aren't pool users and they just don't realize, because they just don't know, because they're not here to see it, like I come randomly with my child on a Saturday, and so then I see the things, but if you don't do that, you don't necessarily see it. Show that.
See that, yeah, I just decided here.
So I think we're coming to maybe like close to a good close for the foundation. There is a slide though that I think would be useful to just look at together briefly, just to see if you have any thoughts on it. Not this, there's that one, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. There's a slide about the potential item, kind of supplementary items, that they're not necessarily supplementary, but things that might be compelling for fundraising. Did anyone want to?
Very interesting slide.
Yeah, it is. I printed out a few copies of this coming.
Gonna underscore, I mean, one point we talked about in terms of timing and then the comparator with comparing other special districts. But just looking at the macro election cycle, this coming May is gonna be pretty interesting because of it will be a contested election for our state representative. And so that may be a moment of turnout. Because I feel like, again, my read on this is the higher the turnout, the more likely we are to win.
Okay.
And we can unpackage that, but that may be a driver. I don't see that in November in terms of turnout. And then it's definitely not in May of 2027 because it's utterly off cycle for everybody.
I think November actually would be a very high turnout this next year, because that is the primary election, the national.
Agreed, but we aren't in contentious national districts.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
again, I think the near term primary is a driver could be the state rep.
Without the oversaturation again that was brought up with other people who may be throwing their hat in the ring
Well, I mean, that's,
as well.
yeah, there's 5 candidates now for the state rep position from the Democratic side, and I think there's 1 from the Republican side.
The odd May elections are the lowest of the election, the turnout of the elections as well, but. Yeah, well, odd here ones.
But it also depends on get out the vote efforts too.
Yeah.
Right. Can you pull up the spreadsheets? Yeah, number 20 there. Yeah. So we got some sort of guidance from the architects. It was minimal guidance on some things that could be fundraised for. It was just, I'm not sure how they came up with the list, except maybe just concrete items that people know what they are. There are a couple items we didn't put on here, like district offices, because that doesn't necessarily feel very compelling to donors.
Stapler, damn it.
So these are some of the items I think it's pretty hard to come to a decision about an amount and items without the foundation knowing the timeline. So I think just looking at this and seeing if you have any kind of thoughts or general guidance you want to provide before kind of stepping out. And then you probably can tell what's going on here, but we've got the materials costs on the far left, and then the multipliers that the consultants use or the architects use, just to try to factor in like, well, the materials cost is not necessarily the full cost of that item. And so it's just kind of a rough estimate, like what is kind of proportionally that total cost for those items.
Terrace, splash pad, and bleachers and water play all seem to be the highlight things that would be fun to pitch and fun to sell and exciting things. And bleachers, get the teams, you probably get the teams involved with you guys to help with those things. This splash pad and water play equipment, you could get some of the elementary age families involved in those. And then the outdoor terrace, I could even be potentially senior groups and people who'd use an outdoor space here. Help them with you guys.
I mean, as much fun as it is to earmark and to rah and work towards, the one thing up there that I put in line with the competition in rec pool is the splash pad. And it even comes across half of it. Yeah, I know, but I'm like talking about fundraising as we're talking about what items we don't want now and we'll get later. The one component that I have said and heard so much for that equitability piece. I mean, at 1% of the total bond that we're looking to ask, it goes back to that 30% Latino population we have in the community that makes it equitable, that builds up that base year after year, decade after decade, because they pass by, spend 20 minutes outside at no cost that they haven't already paid. And then their kids grow up to want to join swim team and water polo and lap swim. And that should be baked into the cost of everything. So I like what's up there and I'm willing to entertain anything the foundation is willing to work toward. But some things in my mind come at the cost of the bond. And that should be baked in without saying, hey, please give us some money so we can have this.
Well, I just want to make sure to clarify here that these items are not up here to be like, we might have them or might not have them. That's of course yet to be confirmed by the board, but like competition pool is up there and rec pool is up there. These are items that are concrete, understandable for people that might be compelling to donate towards. There's no way that the foundation is going to raise the whole cost of the competition pool. But does the foundation want to,
Right.
want to take on a piece of that, try to, have a fund for that?
But how does that get pitched then? I don't quite understand that concept. If that's part of the bond to have the competition rec pool, what is the foundation then doing? Like, hey, give us the money for this, because it's going towards something else. Because it's already been baked into.
I mean, I feel like Christy put that on there, not necessarily to say you guys should raise for the competition pool. It's just kind of give us a scope and just to give you a reference.
Range.
So I think you're too hung up, my opinion is, I don't think they're saying that these are things we're definitely gonna have them fundraiser. This is just to give us a guideline of what these different things were costing, because that's what we asked of the company.
So if we wanted to ask the foundation to help us raise $400,000, that might buy us something like the splash pad, is what we're getting at.
Well, my understanding was also was that what we were thinking was trying to whittle down the $43 million. And so if we are
Right.
43 million and we could say, take $1 million off of this with a couple of these things, an outdoor terrace and a splash pad or something like that.
Right.
Put it up for 42 million and then say,
That's what I thought, which is
Yeah.
why I said I would not do that.
Gotcha.
I would not vote for that. I would say that should be baked into the cost. We wouldn't ask for a pool that then didn't have a therapy component to it, because that should be baked into what we're asking taxpayers for. They expect to get that.
I think that's a very valid discussion. I just don't think we have to solve it today. I think this chart tells me there's easily $1 million, $1.5 million that we can point to right now that we can contribute and that could allow you to take the ask down. And then we would just get in a process over the next month or two where we kind of just really work that together.
Okay. Thank you. That helps me understand
Yeah,
how you're looking at framing it.
it's credible, this idea of being a supplementary fund.
I think seeing these things at their target levels, it seems like seems more reasonable than what was just nebulous ask of, hey,
Right.
raise $1 million for us or $2 million for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
But, and you see $400,000 targets, you pick a couple.
But I mean, just to your point though, and to just disagree with you.
Please.
Like the splash pad.
Mhm.
We carve that out. And we raise money for it. It's not that. Yeah, I mean, so we all get to the same place. It's just our commitment is to fund the plumbing. And then the foundation does from the concrete pad into the whatever it looks like. So I mean,
But if that's done in advance, right? Because we
it won't be
still,
done.
well, okay then. So we take the ask down
Uh-huh.
and then we don't raise it because that's still speculative. The capacity is uncertain.
Right.
What the foundation can do.
Yep.
And so we've asked the community now for something they don't get
Right.
because we weren't able to provide it.
Right.
Okay,
You're just a strong advocate for the splash pad. That's really what we should
Well,
make sure.
the one thing, yes, but also the same thing of having a 25 by 25 competition pool.
Yeah.
I think that's a basic, and I would not
100%.
advocate for something less than that.
Yeah.
We talked about the tent panel versus hardwood, the like hard
No,
side.
no, 100%, but,
Yeah.
but I mean, but what can we carve out? We can't carve out a pool. We can carve out a splash pad.
You could at 1% of pretty much our ask,
Uh-huh.
and I'm saying I don't find that to be equitable. That's my
Well,
point.
But equity, but we get there, and I don't.
Or
I
we don't get there.
Right, well, yeah, you know,
Right.
we all die in the long run. I mean.
Right.
You know, but I mean, but the equity argument, I understand what you're saying about, and its importance. But I'm just saying, we have to, how can we carve out something that would be, you know, you can't, you know, do the walls and then you know, foundation will pay for the roof, that, you know, you can't carve that out. We could carve out the splash pad, we could carve out bleachers, water equipment. We could even, you know, the doors maybe, I don't know, I mean.
Sure, and that's just a threshold. We could carve out really
No,
the ability for, you know, anybody who isn't completely affluent enough to access the doors by raising the prices and things like that. We're just figuring out what that threshold really is to ensure that the greatest good comes with this facility.
100%, yeah,
Yeah.
but we still would need to carve out something that is definable for fundraising to be done against, that isn't already baked into the structure. That, and
I
so,
think this is a time for, we can debate this stuff later.
Yeah.
Let's let
Yeah.
the foundation do what they're
Can
doing.
we just, one thing is that my understanding, and it's very limited, but my understanding is that things that are outside are more easy to acquire grants for. So it's not only an argument for that it's something that people be like, yes, I want to give money to our splash pad because I want to be able to have it and access it, but it's also more likely that we would be able to, or the district would be able to acquire grant money to also help cover that cost. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. So I guess that's just also another part of play of, you know, we've heard from the community that they want the district to find as many funding sources as possible. One of those is grants. There's very limited grants available, but they tend to be more available for outside access and attributes. So I guess it's a larger, bigger picture, something to consider.
One other point I didn't hear brought up also was, that one of the things we've heard a lot was just replace exactly what we've got. We don't want anything new. And so look at the list of the stuff of just exactly what the pool is, where we're giving you the exact same size pool, we're giving the same square footage here. Splash pad is extra, it's something new, and that's where we're saying, we're not expecting the taxpayers to ask for anything new. We are going with the foundation to see if they can add the extra, the new stuff, well, not to diminish the importance of it, but I'm just trying to speak to the people that have kept on saying, just like, replace, just give us the same thing, just replace what we've got.
I think we can work all that out. We have time to do that in January and even February. I think the real question is, you know, do you guys think we should push forward? And I would say that don't push forward unless you can commit to a PR firm, which we'll help with, but you guys gotta be behind it.
one thing I didn't hear so much about, and you talked a bit about the bond, a bit about the levy. How do folks feel about levy and bond? Is it do one or the other and then postpone? You know, I know that there is a unfortunate, you know, you need someone to say yes twice, that I don't really get that motivation, but I understand it, and we saw it. But I was just curious what, you know, that piece of it in terms of the timing.
Well, are we, is the aquatic center or the district in general at risk of running out of money if a new levy isn't placed in May for that? Because if not, then, and that levy is only needed once this new pool is built, then presumably we do have more time, with the caveat that there's a little bit of risk there. What if we build it and don't have the appropriate levy?
Yeah, I think it comes down to a little bit of wording, if you're just gonna do the levy, and then my concern would be, does that make it less likely for the bond to pass? Because people are like, well, I just voted for money for the district, why are they asking me for even more money now? I you know, it's messaging on what people are able
messaging.
to take in and hear. I personally think it'd be better to go for a bond first before the levy, but I don't know, it's not my. Area.
Your firm tells us.
Is there a certain PR for them, you know? You know, guys?
No, honestly,
No, that's a good suggestion for sure.
part of the reason I believe so strongly in this is because I see the sensitivities that you guys face.
Yeah,
And I recognize the challenges that Jeff is identifying,
100%, yeah,
so.
yeah,
It's tricky.
it's definitely.
When you see it done well, you're like, oh. I mean, the PR piece, I've seen bad communication done,
Yeah.
you know, not here, not even in this country. But it just, and then you see a real communication person and like, oh, dang.
Exactly.
wow, I
They have
cannot-
to understand our community.
Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, so.
I think there's a lot of convincing to do out there. And I just think it's gonna take time. I'm sorry that things are going up at 5% a year. But that's just the reality, and maybe that will change, I don't know. But I think this community needs to see that this whole load is not placed on them, and that other sources have been found, worked, and that's where the foundation comes in. That people that have the means have stepped forward and provided some money, and it's not all on the taxpayers. Right now, this levy is all on the taxpayers. At this point.
The bond, you mean?
The bond.
Levy
the
and the bond.
Yeah, both
It's,
for that matter.
it's still gonna come down to the bond. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's not gonna be a pool without a bond. I don't,
No,
unless somebody's kind of.
you know, you've been having these failures. I mean, I didn't even know, frankly, we took the grandkids down here during Thanksgiving. The little pool was cold. I got cold here. It was terrible. And you know, I didn't know about that, and it just seems like you know, a year of somehow some communication. The pool is closed again today, because it seems to be happening a lot. Sorry, the pool's closed today, and get it real, because what I'm hearing is these people are crying wolf. And I'm sorry, I mean, I don't like to be the purveyor of this information, but that's what I'm hearing. So we've got to show them that we're not crying wolf. And I don't know if we need a PR firm to get that information out there or not. But we've got to overcome that first.
And in terms of the timing of that bond and that ask and being in May.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think there's enough time. I mean, that's what I've been saying.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's just not enough time. It's gonna, you know, we love the internet, but you know, communication in this valley is going out in a whole lot of different ways that aren't the internet. And it just involves conversation by conversation and talking with different groups. It's a slow way, and I share your fear of fatigue because this is going to cause fatigue. But you know, we have a goal. We want to get there.
Thank you
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
for being here. The mini.
Sure.
Always great.
Yeah, we appreciate your service.
Yeah.
Greatly.
Okay. So moving on to talking about the memos and decisions. Okay.
You want me, I had some operation stuff. Do you want me to go through some of the operation stuff and some of the slides on like top and things like that? Of bond and got some new updated bonds numbers. That everybody probably gets the same idea. I can go through quickly on this stuff. So, just because I think we're talking about bond and levy, so, first I'll just mention bond numbers. I worked out, there's a financing company called Piper Sandler. And, good news is, their analysis of rates was actually much lower than my initial analysis. They were using some better updated numbers. And so, for instance, our number for 43 million, was around 80 cents, I believe, and this one is at 69 cents per thousand. So this saved us, a considerable amount of money, on their estimates, and I trust their numbers a lot better than our original ones. And so, so it's a little less than what we had been asking. And so I put this together between 39 and 44 million to kind of just give us an idea in there in case there's stuff that we can kind of whittle down with the foundation and such, if it's about where the rates would be coming in. And then
So 42 would keep us at about $180 per family. 94.
For just
I
the
mean,
bond.
average. That was just the bond.
yeah, right, for just the bonds, right? Yep.
Okay.
So. And of course, I'm going by the annual and average home cost. This was the one that we had been working off. I know that Coco had some other suggestions. I did not have time to put it into her spreadsheet, and there's some things that I need to address with some of the data that she was using to then analysis through her as well. But and I can come up with that on a separate meeting if people want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think this average number isn't convincing. I like,
Isn't,
is not.
right.
Correct. And I like that, you know, what is the threshold we want to designate? Is it $15? Is it
Yeah.
$16, $20?
Yeah.
And then, you know, 80% of the community will pay this or less.
Yeah, it's just a question of her 80% and what
Yeah,
is in
yeah,
there.
no, 100%. Yeah. No, we need to make sure that that's valid.
Yep.
But I just, that mentality was
Yeah.
powerful.
Or
Or approach, I should say.
So just to verify, since you corresponded with them, so when they do this analysis, are they using average assessed value, or are they using the actual distribution of assessed values?
Yes.
Yes, the latter? or the
Yeah,
former?
they're using the distribution, they have a pretty robust analysis that is looking at projections of what the assessed value will be at that point, and then doing the collection rate and backing out the urban renewal tax and district stuff. It's and they're pretty conservative on it too. I think that they only go with a 3% per year escalation on growth, whereas we've averaged over the last 20 years over 5% for growth per year. So it's still even with that, it's conservative. They're also going with 1% point above what the current percentage is right now, and considering that we would probably be selling this in less than a year. I think that that's a pretty conservative number as well. I don't think that those rates will be going up that much more in a year. In fact, everything's looking like it's been going down lately, but that's a hard thing to predict. So the other part of this is the levy, and we've talked about what's in the what sort of things that we would put in the levy. Christy and I have talked about it a bunch of times as well, about like just trying to say like what the actual things are, and try and talk about what are the things that people would get. But this is in, so is the operational needs. So for a new aquatic center, operational or additional personnel, equipment, supplies, and indirect costs. This includes full-time staffing during the day, so we would try and go with 2 actual full-time lifeguards that we could go up to 4, or actually 5 full-time employees for just dedicated to the pool, up from 2.5, which is where we're at right now. And that helps with staff retention and such, and being able to keep more people here during the day especially. One of the reasons we closed today was not just because the power went out last night. The power came back on this morning, and we did need some time for the filters to refresh and everything like that, but there was a lot of staff that couldn't come in. And so then capital reserve fund with system life cycles a little bit higher than we normally had before, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. And then dedicated maintenance staff, so full-time maintenance person just for this. On the park side, additional personnel, like I mentioned before, we've developed 25 acres and 48 undeveloped acres and 5.9 miles of trail. And our parks inventory is quadrupled in just the last 15 years with no extra money or staff.
Right.
And so this is just bringing us up to a level of service that is managed from reactive. Right now, we are more, if it breaks, we fix it.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Would this also be involved, I mean, incorporated in like this potentially West Side Park interim concept or just what? Like, if we could say, hey, look, we're getting more money from the levy, but this also means we can do these other bigger things with the West Side Park.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's not capital money on it,
Right.
but what it does mean is that we could take on more things. What I've said before is if somebody decided to write a check for West Side Park to do it tomorrow, I'd probably say I don't think we can do this because we don't have the actual maintenance staff to do it. This would give us the ability to be able to take on new projects responsibly.
And I mean, Mark, you just raised a really good point about the difference between one-time money and continuing money.
Yeah.
And the foundation.
Yeah.
I just, that was something we did not talk about, about other things and.
Then recreation, the funding gap that was caused by this, the school district, $100,000. And then I kind of put all this together is that we need some help with communication and outreach and volunteer. And then planning support, HR supports, project management and finance, and this is more of just kind of like as we've grown everything else, many of us, especially in the admin area, are wearing a lot of different hats. I'm the finance director, the HR director. We are doing a lot of different things. We just need more specialty people that can specialize in planning. And you know, the planner, you know, Marcy's grant writing. We've got like a lot of different things, but to be able to have some people that can that actually know this stuff and specialize in it. So those are the types of things that we're looking at. Just a quick slide to show like what the next level of facility management means. This duct tape right here over the top of this thing. Usually there's a lock that goes in right here. For a decade, that lock's been missing. I've worked here for 10 years and we haven't had a lock there. We replace the duct tape about every 2 years or so. And when staff would change the toilet paper roll in here, they peel the duct tape off and change the roll. It's not, I mean, it works, but that's the sort of thing that we do around here is we just make this thing work instead of going and spending the extra, you know, $30 or $40 of buying the lock. We just don't have time to do stuff like that. And it's just easy to put the new duct tape on. The front door, Kelsey was actually standing up with me a couple of months ago when somebody came, one of the lifeguards came running upstairs and was like, the door fell off. And I was like, oh, that happens. I know how to fix this. And I was running downstairs. Ended up, like, there was actually stuff that I was supposed to be doing. I worked on this for a couple hours, but we have a stack of washers that we super glue together and you slide underneath this this piece right here in order to make this this hinge right here line up with this one over here. Otherwise it falls out. Like that's that's just how we fix things around here. Stack of super glued washers. The front desk for this for the recreation area. I built this myself after hours. I waited till the facility closed to come in at 9 o'clock, work till 2 in the morning and put this together because we just couldn't find a contractor and it was extra. Most places the director is not coming in the evenings to do construction. And so, you know, this is just kind of like when we're talking about this stuff, it's like we are getting things done and everything, but it's like at what cost? And this, a lot of this stuff is just to be able to try and start being professional and not having to do things this way. Just a couple of other little things that, you know, as I'm trying to figure out like different areas to cut money and things like that. When we're looking at this was some of the stuff of here was our baseline budgets for what we currently run the pool with. Our expenses are around $1 million, and this was what Councilman Hunsaker, the pool experts with this have recommended. one of the big things that I was trying to figure out what it was their capital replacement fund and why that was so much higher. They recommend a 0.5% of the capital cost going toward capital replacement. And that is because they want to have things on a replacement life cycle. So like a boiler is 10 years, you just start saving up for it. And then in 10 years, you replace the boiler before you need a new one. Right now, we wait for the boiler to break and we limp it along for 20 years or so. It's still, considering ours has been 37,000 for years, it has seemed high. And so if we just took ours and kind of went between here, split this basically in half, went down to $75,000. Right there, that would drop our rates to 13 cents is what we would need for just the pool from 16 cents. And so just 3 cents was just by dropping the capital replacement. So there's areas in here where we can try and figure out ways that we can kind of split things down. There's some of the suggestions we've heard is on our fees. I know you've seen this slide before, but I just wanted to point this out again. So right now, our fees, we charge 20% more for out-of-district fees. If we went up and decided to charge 50% more for out-of-district fees, and that was the only change we made, we'd only make an extra $12,000. And so that one is no percent difference in there. It's probably about 0.5 cent or so, but it doesn't make a difference in the rate that we would be asking for. Now we can raise the other rates as well, but as up here, you can already see that their revenue projection is already at $75,000 above what our revenue was. So they've already factored in some of this stuff for raising additional revenue. So I didn't factor in the extra right there, but I just wanted to point that out. I'll try and move quick here.
So Mark, I just wanna, so on the thing you just showed.
Yeah.
I just wanna clarify that I don't think what you intend is to say to not do that.
No.
The point is that
It
it doesn't change the rate, which you said.
Exactly. It
Okay.
doesn't solve our issue. I'm not advocating to not do it. I think that a higher rate for outside district is fine. Just so you can see, it would like, if we did that today, it would bring us from $5.25 to $7, or I'm sorry, from $6.25 to $7.88 for a daily admission. That's about what the difference would be from going from 20% to 80%.
And I imagine
Mhm.
we could, this would be, for when we're getting into rate discussions, but we could offer to charge a fee for someone to become in district. So people, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you live in Mosier, you don't have access to the libraries in the Dalles because Mosier is not part of the library district, but you can pay to be part of the library district. So you're like paying that piece.
Mm.
Theoretically, I imagine something like that could be done, but I don't think that's done currently,
no.
right? Okay.
But then the concern is that would be one time.
No, you do as like a yearly basis.
Then
Yeah, the yearly, so.
Pay membership sort
To
of
get the
thing.
in-district
Yeah,
rates,
sure,
you
sure.
pay the fee to be an in-district
Yes.
person.
One last slide there, just to kind of show what all of these levy rates could be. And again, this is draft, to put it in bright red, but it still is something that we can work down and talk about on these different things. But this is what it would take to do what I had just described there, which is 38 cents per thousand is about what that would be. That is with the reduced 75%. And just for perspective, in the 2024, it was 43 cents per thousand is what we asked for. So it brings about a nickel less than what we had asked for in 2024. So we have definitely been whittling this down, trying to work on those costs, just as we did with the other. But anyways, I just want to give a little bit of an update on the operation and those dollar amounts before we.
Just to be clear too, so then if this was our levy rate, if this is what we could go with all those things that we just talked about and everything you said, and then the pool passes.
Mhm.
And we get the bond, is that gonna also be able to be enough maintenance built into that, funds in that to maintain a new building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all worked in.
Just want to make sure that's on public record, or
Yep.
at least to make sure we're good on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that sets us up well for the future. So, anyways, I wanted to give that background before we get into the discussion around our timing, and then also I think it would be nice to talk about the PR firm as well, and come to a couple of decisions around those.
Okay.
Well, I'll just write off to your memo, so like I will say, the first thing like I said, the other group is the idea of just delaying, just feels like we're just getting behind other districts and other areas, and other city, county, whatever. The other aspect of my mind is if we're gonna delay, just ask for the same thing, I don't know that it's worth the delay. Like if we're gonna delay to then ask for something more to like say, hey, really to improve things, like to build something beyond just the remodel of the pool, then maybe that would be worth, in my mind, the justification of waiting, because then we're gonna try to build, push it a little further, I guess. But that being said, hearing what everyone says, and I won't say doom and gloom, but just the realism of it, I'm definitely, and reading through your memo, I'm definitely more amenable to the idea of delaying it, but my first response is I'd rather just get it going.
I see
But
what
I'm more amenable to it for sure. The memo helped put it in perspective, and hearing everyone's opinions tonight definitely helped put it in perspective too.
Yeah, we've been going out and about talking with people and getting a good understanding, and I think that's an important component as well, is that perspective of where we were not that long ago. We were asking $73 million for a bond. We've taken down to 43, and we're still like, man, how do we keep going down? What is down and what's left? And I think Mark just showed that in the last slide of how hard he worked when the cost recovery is that much harder because you don't have all the other ability to recoup that. I shaved a nickel. That is substantial given what we've been trying to do here. And so being behind the 8 ball, and I just don't necessarily know how much farther we're going to be able to whittle things down and still provide that, hey, give me what I already have. We can't do that anymore. It's just not functional or feasible any longer.
And cost of living.
Yeah, that's a concern too.
So I don't think we're necessarily at a point of we want to potentially whittle down a little bit more. We haven't looked in a lot of depth about the operation. We've talked more about whittling down the bond, and you've done work to whittle down the operations.
Right, but the operations is definitely, I've been trying to bring it to these meetings and
Yeah.
and we keep on kind of putting that off, but we gotta start getting into that part of it. But yeah, there's still discussion to come on that.
I asked this question previously about both at the same time. The sequencing is an interesting one. Again, I guess, and to be upfront, my biggest concern is fatigue. And to go back to the electorate multiple times, at multiple election cycles, I don't know what that gets us. And I know, Mark, you've discussed and spoken, very eloquently about how, you build this thing and then you can't operate it, which we've seen. And we have direct examples in Oregon of that. I don't know. What are people's thoughts on that? I am shocked that twice in one election is a thing. It is. I want to be realistic about that, but also
Ask it out, the same one.
And yeah, I don't know. What are folks' thoughts on that?
There's no perfect answer here.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person's given us their best, and this is where we're at right now. That's the truly hard part of it. And PR firm is great to get more perspective on somebody's understanding of how to navigate. And even they're going to say, here's our best guess. Here is the highest odds. And Mark has been great about that from the get-go, really pushing forth that data to give us an understanding. I think the fatigue thing is huge. And I think about it in a couple different ways, including pushing back later. I think about asking multiple times, in different ways. I think we do need to leverage what, previous board did beforehand, going all the way back to master plan and, yesteryear and where we're at now, because it's going to be hard to think about if it doesn't pass, what we're going to do next and what that looks like. But I really think that we are doing what we were asked this go around from those we represent. First time last board was like, give us the sun and the stars and the moon, and here's what could be. Right now, we're talking about whittling and how do we get this for another half century.
Right.
Bond and levy, in my mind, going together at the same time probably gives us the best chance of that.
I am highly concerned that if we go with both of them at the same time, they will sabotage each other. I do not want the operational ability of the district to be at risk because people are not ready to say yes to what will still be a big ask, and especially when people put it in the context of what our current rate is. And that's unfortunate that that's the number we're working with. You know, if you're the school district, your initial number that you're starting with is a much bigger number, and so any number you add to that is a much smaller percentage add, and that's just where we are. I think there's fatigue, but there's gonna be even more fatigue if we go out with both and they both fail again. And then we have to go out again. And then what do we do at that point? Like, we've already pared down the pool ask to essentially what we have now, but a modern version of it. Like, if we fail again, what would that pool proposal look like? And I imagine, this is just me, I can't speak for others, but I imagine it would be an outdoor only pool at that point, because I don't see how else we would cut it down significantly. And I don't want to delay it. If I were confident that it would pass, that they both pass together for all the reasons that people have raised, the concerns about inflation, right? Fatigue, I would be on board for that, but I am concerned because I'm talking to, I know you are too, but I'm talking to people over and over again every day, trying to get to what might people say yes to, and what do people need to hear to be ready to say yes. And I think there's just so much work that we're not accounting for that it's going to take. Because there's so many other things that are taking people's attention that are also important, and the pool's important sometimes to you, but maybe not all the time, you know, and it's just gonna take work. And I think we're underestimating how much work that's going to take to get to enough people to, yes, get that map, yeah.
I mean, you know, I guess the thing that I hate about this is we have to precipitate the disaster. Get this, you know, there has to, you know, the pool literally has to detonate itself. You know, I mean, it's like that to me is not, and I'm just saying, and I can be talked down off the ledge, but that is not responsible the use of public funds, because we're throwing bad money out the window on a bad pool because we're having to invest so much money for repairs. If that's what, you know, and I know there was a discussion we had last quarter. That is frustrating. Because there's that piece of it. I mean, it's like, you know, if you're an orchardist and every time you go out to your tractor, it's 60-40, whether that thing detonates, you get rid of the tractor and you buy a new one. You replace it. I mean, you're reinvesting in your own well-being and your own, and that's a micro level, but I don't know. I just but yeah, I hear you about just the need for convincing.
I got a thought question too, and I'll click on Mark and Marcy, please chime in too if you guys have an opinion on it. But so what happens if we pass a levy with the extra coverage? And then the pool, things happen in the pool, and then we're shutting down the pool, because I think shutting down the pool is an important aspect of seeing that it's damaged and having issues. But then if we pass this thing and then the public's like, we gave you more money, why is the pool still closing? I mean, are we gonna be able to then, it could, you know, explain that, yeah, that was enough money to do this, but then the pool is another issue, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? I mean, do you understand my question?
Well, I think I picked up what you're saying here. I think that I would also argue that the levy is temporary money. It's the money for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, you've got a chance in 5 years. I think that we could use some of that money, because we are allowed to use the thing with the levy money is we can. We'll be able to write that levy in a way to be able to use it for, the operation of the pool and, keeping the pool running or, that sort of thing. If we have to, kind of like what we do with using our general fund money toward the improvement fund and things like that. So I think that it would be flexible to be able to do some things there. But then again, by the time we got to that making position, assuming that we ran the levy first and we're running the bond second.
Yeah.
Then we would be able, then I think that taxpayers would have the ability in a couple of years to decide whether or not, at what level they should fund us.
Yeah, so I guess, so I'm asking, like, if we approve at a higher levy rate and, to cover all the things that we say we need to cover, but then the pool's still breaking down. Which it's gonna break down, whether if we don't pass the bond, like, are the people, I mean, what is the public gonna say about that? Like, I mean, who knows? Obviously, we're just trying to see the future, but that's the timing issue that I'm kind of.
I guess, but no, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, but is it that when we pass the levy, a lot of that stuff, yes, is engineered to be anticipatory of a new pool, but there are also large, massive parts of it, if not its entirety, that we can use and implement now.
Yeah, like recreation.
No, but I mean, even related to this pool.
Keeping the pool
I mean,
running effectively.
and then, having a front desk person.
Consider the bond more and look deeper.
Having a front desk person, and maybe the bond dollars don't change at all, but I mean, we have a front desk person, we have
a full-time maintenance person that's now. Yeah, I mean, so Anthony this morning came in, we have got, and you'll see my director's report, but dozens of trees down all over the system and such, and he couldn't get the pump restarted. The pump was, power went out last night and you hit the pump, you waited a couple minutes, it ran, it shut back off. I mean, what took him about an hour going back and forth to finally get that pump up and running again, when he should have had a chainsaw out on the trails and such. And so it was just having a full-time person here to be able to help.
And then that was intended for a new pool.
Yeah.
I mean, that all of those FTEs.
Yeah.
Were intended for a new pool. So I mean, there's.
Well, it's intended for a efficiently well-run pool.
It's what we should have
Yes.
right now. Yeah.
Fair, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, and it would be a much different, obvious. Exchange with the public, because we would have a proper lobby, we would have a proper desk that would have ability to have,
Well, Martha, I think, we'd like to hear from Martha.
Yes.
Would you like to weigh in, Martha?
There's so much, I mean, I've been able to listen so carefully to everything that everybody has said, and there's so many people that have talked. And you're like, and I'm like, that's a great idea. I feel like we should put the levy. I like what Kate said. We need the pool, and I've been one that says maybe the pool just needs to shut down, so people understand. But for me, and just personally, it's really hard right now because I have my Latino community is being hit hard in a different way, where they could just actually become absent because we're hiding to a certain extent. So I can't even feel like I can be productive in trying to vouch or campaign for something that they won't even be able to enjoy. And I'm going to vouch for my whole community, not just Latinos, but they're fully not there right now. There's other things that are, I mean, we're in a state of emergency right now.
Perspective is critical. I mean, we're talking about this, and we have people being kidnapped. I mean, for God's sakes.
It just makes it harder for me to be able to give a really good, clear perspective. I will support in whatever way I can. I love the pool. I think we need one, and if we don't do anything, things are just gonna get more expensive, and it's still gonna cost a lot. It's always gonna cost a lot. So maybe we do need to take a risk, perhaps.
I wonder about that in the sense of what is that story we're telling? Because we are so in the weeds of where we're at, but I'm looking back at what happened in 24 and we look at all this data and you don't know all the nuance necessarily of the library and things, but you can see the timestamps along the way. So whether it passes or not, whether we go out for one or both, what is the story that we want to tell and hand off to the next board to be able to run with? That I think can be really important as well, because we've been doing the work. Not that we didn't do the work the first time around or that it wasn't there, but we've recognized and we've grown in so many ways with the foundation, with advisory councils, with all of this, understanding that it can't just be the people at this table every month. But the world has changed too, not just the cost of it, but the realities of everything Martha just said and the like. So when we look back, what is that story we want to tell, regardless of how it plays out?
I can totally my answer to that.
Go.
Like Kate said, we wanted to make sure that we saved all aspects of Parks and Rec. And so we put forward the levy to begin with, to get our ducks in a row, to make sure that we could sustain the many, many different things that Parks and Rec does. And we took one more year to do community outreach and fundraising, grassroots organizing, to put forward the vote in 2027 to replace the pool. And we come out clear with that timeline. I don't even know if I even like the word delay. It's spacing it out. Maybe it's delay, but it's
sequencing.
Sequencing it. We're not putting it off. We're having strategic timing.
Right.
With what at least I think is most likely to be successful. This is a hard one because it's judgment call, because we don't have a lot of data to go on, but we have the election data from before to go on. We do have that. And so I think that's the story to me that we tell, and that we wanted to do everything that we could in a reasonable timeline, not waiting too long, to do all the things that the community said that they wanted us to do before we came back to them and asked them again for the bond.
Honestly, hearing tonight, like I said, I came in with a different perspective. Even reading your memo, I was like, okay. But then hearing Kate, Tina, Nancy, Jeff, all these people have very reasonable reasons on why to delay. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And then hear what you have to say and the way you pitch it and explain it and how we can talk about that to other people. And I'm new to the board, so I probably should got to remind myself that why I don't need to be in such a hurry. So if we need to focus on the levy and making sure that we can show this Parks and Rec program and shore it up and help support Geota and Jaime to have more solid rec options, and to give us that extra time to have a more professional run pool with extra staff. That's a lot of PR plus that could, coupled with the fact that if something dies, then we shut it down, and then there's that too. And so I think there's a two-pronged approach on that. So I don't know, I'm leaning towards being okay with the delay and just a levy first.
And in the sequencing, what we're talking about is May 2026, May 2027.
Just one year essentially.
And that's to allow us to, rally around May 2027, 69 cent bond number, but again, I think one of the things I think is critical, whatever we do, is we start talking about and socializing that number. Because, it can't, and I know it wouldn't be, but it wouldn't be just like this, and here's the amount, because we do need to give folks a sense of what it is that we'll be asking for when we do. I hate managed decline. I hate that. It is one of the most annoying things about government work, about having to literally wait for wheels to come off. That is just so antithetical to what I would want to do.
Yeah.
I think the last data point we have is, rough, a rough one.
Marcy, you seem like you want to add something.
So I've worked here for 21 years. I've like, in January, it'll be 21 years. I've watched board members come and go. And never has delaying a decision helped us with a decision on cost. Like, so I just want to give you that perspective. I think another tactic that you could consider is putting a tent on the pool. You haven't discussed that as an option. And is that something that people would choose over the roof that had to have a lower cost for May of 2026? And if the question is like, what will it take? Like, what would we do if people said no? What would our options be? Would it be to continue to reduce the cost or to like reduce the thing to continue to have a pool? So if it comes down to reducing the cost, and we don't know what that number is because we haven't surveyed the people in terms of like of a statistically valid survey, then, perhaps considering reducing that cost more could help. I guess, I see the logic in, it seems like we're in a tough spot and there's no real great answer. But without a doubt, the costs are just going to continue to rise. And in May of 2027, after decision fatigue and that, the voters still might say no.
So you're nonplussed by a dual ask.
I think that people have said to me for years, what is up with the pool? I hear that the pool is failing. And I work here, the pool is failing, and we spend a lot of time and energy and passion to keep it alive and running efficiently. And continuing to delay that ask when I know what it takes to keep it running makes me feel passionate about that. Like I feel passionate that isn't necessarily the answer, because I agree that it doesn't sit right with me that we would close the pool without trying to go for it first. And we tried to go for it. But I mean, I think like at least if we fail and if we went for it in May, and at least if we tried, then there would be then it would be understandable why the pool closes. But if we don't go for it in May and the pool closes because it fails, I guess like to me, like that doesn't seem to be like a decision that, sits very right with me in terms of how to proceed with things, but I am the worker and the employee. But it is your decision, and I will support you and do my best to keep this pool running and to work as hard as I can to support our district.
Would the improved levy that had, more staff here and more, would that at least alleviate some of the pressure that you're feeling in terms of keeping it running? I mean, would that help in some way?
It's not gonna help keep the pool, operable, so like, yes, would we have somebody who could like help fix it and maybe keep it so that the pool isn't closed for as long? But, the filter is, you know, you're gonna find out in a little further down in the director's report. You know, the filter is, you know, struggling to keep up. And so, you know, our staff is recommending right now to give the pool a day of closure to allow the turnover and to allow it to appropriately filter. So, I mean, no one, we don't have a crystal ball for how long the pool's gonna be open. And it's quite possible that, you know, we could continue to make it work through the delay, you know, through an extended timeline that you are proposing. That would be my hope. Um, I guess, you know, I hear people saying, I don't want the pool to be closed for the time that construction happens. You know, like if we were to be successful with a bond, you know, I think the same point lies with me that I just don't want the pool to be closed because there was no decision, you know, made that forces it to be closed because it then fails.
Well, this would not be no decision. It would be a decision to sequence them.
To sequence them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a lot November of 24, like people expected us to go out again then. Didn't pass in May of 24, and hey, what's going on? And here we are, December of 25, talking about 26 and 27. And that crystal ball does not exist, and I don't know how good I feel about one or both at the same time. I've seen the amount of work before and the amount of work now. And I think that that story gets written sometimes not by the things we say, but by the things that are on the paper, where somebody looks and they do the math and they say, oh, you went back out in that time frame, or you did this, you dropped the cost down there. And that's some of the anchoring that was asked of us the first time. Reduce this. That was too much of an ask. We don't want to move sites. Don't take away our ballpark. Some of those things that we've been working really hard on to try to manage. And we spent last go around talking about how much of the improvement fund we'd even dig into. And so the difficult part of taking less than half of that and saying, nope, doors are closed. That's still hard for me to explain that it came out of a general fund. It's in the improvement fund, and we're still not going to spend it all down, but the doors stay closed at this place. That's a tough narrative to give out, even if we got a levy, because that's all we asked for, and we decided to sequence down the line. Because we still know what's inevitable, that this place will not hold out forever. In my mind, I still am a proponent of asking for both at the same time. I think that strategically they have the best odds. I'm with Christy though, in the sense that it makes me really uncomfortable, and I wish there were a better solution, such as sequencing gives us better odds. We don't know which is. But we will have to have an answer if it doesn't pass either way. So at least if we go both right now, we're gonna figure out if that doesn't work, we gotta try again somehow, some way. But if we don't try May of 26 to get a bond and a levy, we are just still speculating of what will happen the next time we do ask.
Yeah, and I mean, and then to the point of, you know, if we ask for both and both fail, that's just, you know, life. If we ask for the levy, make the case that rises and falls on its own. And then we revise the numbers to go out into 2027 for the bond.
And we don't make people choose, do you want the pool or not? Like, remember that people tied them together last time around, and that's partially messaging, but I think that's inevitable if they are at the same time, that if you oppose the pool or just the bond, I shouldn't even put it that way. If it's too much for you, or you don't want to vote yes on the bond, it is logical that most people who would land on that would also say, well, I don't want this other one, because you lump it together and think that those are tied together rather than the other one being needed as well, unless we can just do really good messaging in a short amount of time that, like, regardless, the levies
I mean, what was, there was some arguments or discussion that we had about, the progress that we've made to date, which has been radically different than what we did previously with the pool. What I experienced and being on the board now, is there not a little bit of daylight there that you kind of, because we've defined this in a way that it was never defined before. We have a clarity in a way that we never did have before. And now coming back and being ruthless with that messaging regarding the clarity and the ask now. Is there not some optimism? I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put this on you. Like you're the,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? We've done this different.
So I've definitely thought about that a lot. And yes, I think we have a lot of momentum. I think the challenge is we are at the same timeline that frankly it was at for the previous ask, where we essentially have like a couple months to figure out what the message is and a couple months to educate people. And so all that good work has been done, but there's not a lot of time to inform people about it.
Well, we
And so-
mobilized some masses now that we didn't have before for that messaging.
I wouldn't say mobilize masses. I mean, we have some very dedicated volunteers, but we don't have the numbers.
Okay.
We have,
And we're talking PR firms as well, and we have people that feel as though that would be significant, which we didn't do prior.
to get some messages, but there's still the like boots on the ground
Agreed.
time to get out there. I did talk with someone from a PR firm that I know, not locally, someone I know who does work like this, and she said that one approach that can work well is that you have like a 10-month outreach campaign, awareness campaign, just so that people know what it is that you do, like the general public, because people who use the services here may know, but we know that there's so many that aren't getting the district newsletter, and so they don't know. And so you do that, and then you have the 2 to 3 month campaign afterwards. And so that puts you that is like a 1 year timeline, not a 3 month timeline. If we had something that, if it's also just the electorate that we have for our district. It's just not gonna be a default yes. And so, maybe if we were in Portland and then both, went differently, I feel like in Portland, they might feel like, well, anything that Parks and Rec puts out will be approved, but we have a different dynamic here and we really have to prove it to people.
But strategically speaking, I don't want to state that we haven't already put forth some of that. We have anchored a price point in people's mind. We've done our best to try to get people to understand to the point of you need 10 months or a year or something to let them know what you do. Maybe that works to our benefit. The fact that most individuals don't know there are 5 entities in our town that oversee Parks and Rec. And they're just gonna go, hey, the one with the badge that says Parks and Rec does everything. Damn, they need something because I wish, this park that I love, which isn't even operated by us, was a little bit more served. Yes, we do need to send that messaging out and do those things, but we do have some stuff to fall back on, I would say. We do have that anchor of we are asking for less now, 30 million less here, a nickel less there, whatever that may be, but it doesn't change the world we're in. And strategically, as we keep adding, the off year, May of 27 is not the best time to go out. In the sense of how many voters turn out. That does not look nearly as great. It does not look nearly as great when we know other entities in this community are going to be having asks as well. We're trying to get out in front of that. There is no good answer here. And I very much appreciate just how diligent you've been and the people you've talked to. I know I've gone above and beyond myself. And I want to take all that into account. But the people that I talk to as well lead me to still believe that this is an opportunity to continue to tell a story and to give us the best shot possible. And I don't know how I feel if we ask for one and we get it. And we're like, why didn't we ask for both? Or if, we ask for both and we don't get it. Damn, we should have only asked for one. It's gonna be Monday morning quarterback regardless. And so everything combined that we've talked about and heard about, that's why I keep sticking with this. And I'm gonna continue to support everybody else and hear what they have to say, but that's just I see this place falling down around us, and I think we almost lost it going into the summer this year. I mean, the piping and everything else that was it. I was like, cool. Right before summer starts, 2 weeks before school's out, we don't have a pool.
You
What-
see it,
what's the-
but do enough voters see it?
What's the timeline if we wanted to, so is it possible to, just so I know, could we even get on the November ballot of next year?
Mhm.
Okay, so then what about this consideration? We worry about we do the levy. If something traumatic or, happens to the pool in the short term, what would be our deadline to try to get on the ballot for November? I mean, if the pool literally was about to shut down and we were about to throw $500,000 at it, but go, look, we tried to not put it on the bond. We didn't want to do it in May because we didn't want to put this too much pressure on the public. But look, it's June and we're having to shut down now because the pump is done. So at that point, what's our deadline to try to get it in November and really have all this stuff? And then we go into high gear to potentially get it in November.
Mid-August, August 1st, probably, but like have a decision by August 1st. Maybe even mid-July or so, on a really firm decision, but paperwork can start coming in on August 1st.
And is there a reason why we don't consider just going in November and give us an extra 6 months?
Well,
Anybody else going
the
on?
part, yeah, the
Yeah,
part-
but is that,
Yeah.
but is that for sure? Again, it sounds like we're not even.
The only
pretty sure
one
those
that
things
is,
are happening.
the closest one, I would say the school district is probably at like a 95% chance of going city, I think. I don't know, less of, for sure. They're testing the waters at 50-50, maybe 60-40 now.
And Cascade Locks is in May.
Just get lucky.
That's not.
But, you know, I don't worry about that one.
It is prepared.
But,
Right.
yeah, it's not relevant in the sense of any competition with us, but, I talked with a person, at our meeting on Wednesday who said that he was a little frustrated with, multiple agencies going out for some of this stuff that he was not convinced was going to pass, and he's like, if we keep on doing this, we're just going to start creating a culture of no around here,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna piss into the punch bowl.
Yes.
And so Cascade Locks could add toward that, if that's a highly contested thing. The last time we went for prepared food tax, I think it failed at around 43%. The district that Cascade Locks is in was at 27%, as far as their precinct, in favor of the prepared food. And that was the lowest, precinct out of all 13 precincts.
Is that why they didn't go out in November this year, or was it because I thought they said they needed to bump up to 7% because they weren't sure?
It was because November of this year was not a regular election, and if you don't go in a regular election cycle, you have to pay for the entire election, so it will cost them more money.
Okay.
So then I also want to go back to if the school district is the one that's closest to going for the bond, and I know I've mentioned this in previous meetings, but like, what's the feasibility of, again, this is a facility. The schools use this as much as anybody. And is there any collaboration that could happen with those two entities where if we're both on the ballot in November for the pool and the stuff that the school is asking for, which from what I understand is mostly facility-based things. So if they're asking to improve their fields, asking to improve their courts, asking to improve all their things that their kids are recreating on, that we will also be using, but then we're also trying to ask for this thing that their kids are using. I mean, what is the feasibility of asking for our levy in November or May, and then trying to really work with the district? I mean, I don't know what the odds of that, you have the relationship with them better than, but is that feasible in any way? Obviously, that'd be a huge ask, because we're actually adding 40 million to whatever they want to ask. So that's a substantial. That being said, there'd be a lot more public support for us and the school district.
I think that would be a very tough sell with the school district. It would be a tough sell the same way it would be with us. If somebody else came to us and said, can we get in on your actions? I think that it is, what we've heard a lot in the last time was, why, like, this is too confusing. Why do we have parks and trails and pools all the same thing? Like, I would have voted if it was just the pool. And I could see the same thing here. Like, I would have voted if it was just the school, or I would have voted if it was just the pool. So I think it's just splitting things up. Although you and I can see the theme of we're voting for our kids and voting for facilities and such. I think a lot of people would say it's just too much, plus just the dollar amount I think would get way too big.
Do you know if most of I guess you probably don't know yet, but because last I heard they were looking at the specifically a lot of sports things.
I don't know.
We have no idea.
I've heard the same rumors you have probably.
Because if that's the case, I mean, it's like it all does, it could be at least sold in that angle. I mean, it's all very recreation based and sports based and athletic based and health and fitness based.
Yeah, my assessment is just going off of like, kind of like how I feel like they would feel. It's not going off of any conversations I've had with any elected officials from the school districts. That's, I have not talked to any of them. And I don't think on a staff level, we've,
I mean,
could make that sort of, guess on what you guys would all think.
speaking as a board member, I mean, if I were on the school board.
Yeah.
I would not want to.
You wanna add 40 million?
Yeah.
40 million to the ask.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Not even the amount, but I just, you know, they have a track record of success,
Mhm.
you know, and. And that goes, I mean, is that one of the reasons why you've said May 27, May 26 is the November school? And
Yeah, it's to
avoiding
be
that?
good partners with our other agencies who have said that they are going out in November. But it is also to have a clear runway and timeline, to be able to have like that year where you can backwards plan from, okay,
Yeah.
we need to get to here, and here are all the things we're gonna do in the meantime to get us to that finish line. Like, you don't have that, like, or I shouldn't say you don't have that, but like, I urge you to consider, what does that look like for a May 26 election for a bond versus what does that look like for a May 27? Because those do look different. And I don't really know what that looks like for a May 26 because it's like a scramble. I mean, I know what it looked like before. And it was a scramble. And so what does it look like this time around?
I think that it looks like we're not asking for less, but we're watching the price tag go up. I think that the cost of comfort to know that we're getting that message out is a year later and a couple $1 million more. And I don't know how to really factor that into play. Because yeah, there is a scramble. There was a scramble before, and damn was I deflated with the interweb. That was the worst. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but and you know, do I anticipate that again? No, I think we've figured out a few things that will kind of mitigate some of that. But when I go back straight to just the conservative nature of costs, I do know that the price tag will be higher for the same ask 1 year later. And then I'll be left wondering if I had my ducks in a row and should have gone out when it was approximately 2 million less.
Yeah, I mean, that just is what it is.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's a fact. Well, we need to make some decisions and move on to the next full topic so we can finish our meeting. And so we need to make a decision whether we're going to move forward with bond in 26 or bond, at least bond in 26 or later, or bond in 26 or bond in 27.
I mean, levy 26, bond 27.
Well, sorry. I was going on the assumption of levy in 26 because we already pretty much made that decision at our work session, our work section. And so I, wasn't bringing up anything to change that. Or so the question of bond this coming year or bond in 27. And then from there, it's 26, we need to identify that amount. So that people can get their ducks in a row to do communication, because there's a lot of work to get done if it's.
All right.
And I don't get the sense we have a unanimous.
Definitely is, I don't think it's gonna be unanimous.
Consensus, so.
Leave it right now. It's just like, oh my gosh. Be like walking out in the last 10 minutes of Star Wars.
I'm invested
All right.
at the whatever they call the climax of the drama.
Tune in next week.
Yes.
And then stay tuned.
All right.
So we are in agreement regarding the levy in May of 2026. That would be in the amount of roughly 38 cents.
Make it to whittle that down. but yeah.
Yeah,
Some work there.
and yeah, January, so in the current project plan that we have, January to precisely define that number.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted you to have some numbers
Yeah.
today so that
Yeah.
you weren't like going into January and having to make decisions at that moment. Yeah,
And even if that's an upper threshold, that's fine. If
Yeah.
it is the number, that's fine.
yeah,
But I just wanted to be able to,
sure,
kind of in my mind, capture what it is that we're doing right
you
now.
got it.
Hey, Martha vote first. She's not here. She did. I know, I mean, like, let her, but
There's,
Martha, you have opinion? You wanna vote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go big or go home.
So you wanna go for the bond in 2026?
Yes. Was it the levy or the bond?
We're doing the levy no matter what. From what we talked about at the work session meeting. This big discussion we're
Okay.
trying to decide right now is if the bond is on May, or if we postpone the bond of about a year till May of 2027.
I say we do the 26, do it.
I second that motion.
Am I seconding the motion?
I don't.
No, we're just-
Is-
Like,
Like,
we're stating our views right now.
Okay. Sorry, it cuts out a little.
No,
Is
It's super hard. It's,
I don't think, there's no,
I mean, I'm leaning towards waiting 1 year on the levy.
you mean,
I mean, on the bond, sorry, on the bond. Or at the very, potentially. So I'm leaning.
I think the timing of May 2026 is unique, I feel. And that's kind of what, I think we have some momentum. I think we build off of the education that we've done in the past. I think the timing of 27. Is ultimate, I'm thinking more bond 26.
Yeah, like passionate electorate. I mean, that's something that I've been considering too, like more passionate electorate coming around this time around in May 2026.
Yes.
And so, given that those people showing up to vote, they might be more willing to support a public entity like a pool.
Right.
Yeah. That was,
As well, yeah. And the need to engage professionals. I think that goes without saying. I mean, that would be the case either way. Not really happy about that.
yeah, I mean, I'm so 50-50. Yeah. Chris, you're pretty strong on waiting, right? Is that, I'll let you, sorry, I didn't speak for you, I'll let you.
yes, with no joy in saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, yeah, I'm probably gonna, get emotional, but like. It's been a lot of work. Yeah. And I wanna see it be successful. And I just, like I said before, I don't want people's opposition to the bond to hurt everything else. And I think we have a great new concept. I was excited to share that with people. I just think we have a lot of work to do for enough people to see that and get behind it. Like the fact that we had such a great turnout that event in terms of visually, that room was full.
Mhm.
But then when you look at the feedback forms and see that a vast majority of them were people that said yes before, and twice as many people said no as yes before, and they're not there you know, and so we don't know what they think. And at the very least, it indicates like maybe they just don't care that much, you know, and so we need to help them see that it matters. And I don't think we can achieve that in just a couple months. And if you want to go for 26, fellow board members, you better be ready to put in a lot of work. Like a lot of work. Every week. It's gonna take a lot to get people behind this. It is a big ask no matter what. And so please, if you're gonna say 26, like I'm gonna be a team player, but you better step up and put in the time that it's gonna take to have any chance of it getting passed. So.
In the delay. Sorry, in the sequencing for 27 in May, and I think May, it would be May 27. I mean, I'm uncomfortable with November 26, not because of timing at all. It's because of the school district.
Yep.
And I think, you know, there would be some interesting correlation that, you know, someone could do, like how many different bonds were on a ballot and then what passed, what didn't, you know? Anyway, with that being said, one of the convincing arguments for 26 for me, for the bond, was cost. You know, that's not going down, and we quickly get to the point where, you know, if it fails in May 26, we're back to a 10. Because I don't see how we could, you know, having to knock prices, you know, because it's price, you know. And so, you know, and that is suboptimal, to say the least. Are you concerned with price in a May 27? I mean, of course you are, but I mean, does that shift you earlier? Because of the ask is only gonna go up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very logical point to make. It's very predictable that, you know, and prices rise, they do not fall. I just don't think that is our biggest challenge at this point. I think our biggest challenge is conceptually people getting behind it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
See, sticker shock, it wasn't a driver.
no, it was
Well,
before, but we've gotten it down a lot.
Yeah,
You know?
and we have a better case to make, I would argue.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. But also like, we're never gonna get it down to where it's only gonna be a 50% increase
Yeah.
over our current rate, because we're only at 35 cents per thousand, right? And so there's no number we can get it down that would actually do what needs to be done,
Right.
that wouldn't be a big increase.
sure, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and at some point, I know this wouldn't be popular, but I mean, really, the original sin was 1994, whenever this thing was computed. I mean, a ridiculous approach to Parks and Rec. Having said that, it's now 2025 and we need to come up with real solutions.
Oh, the expanding the district charter, but not expanding the tax rate, that we're getting at, yeah.
I mean, you know, the reservation I've always had is yes. And I don't know why that's a hurdle. You know, and that's something that, you know, because then it does one sabotage the other. Mark, how long would it take to get a shit hot PR firm in here?
Shit hot?
Just the first part.
So, I was asked to come up with some dollar amounts around it. I think we have about $30,000 in this budget that we could spend on something like this. If it was kept under $25,000, and again, it could be phased. Although I'd have to be very careful around that, because you really can't for bidding purposes phase stuff, but if it was under $25,000, I can do direct bid and I could hire anybody immediately. if I have to do above $30,000, I need to get quotes, but they're informal quotes. I don't have to do an official RFP or anything, but I could go out there and do quotes. Quotes will take me a little bit more time, but it's always a good idea to do quotes anyways. But then it's a scope of work. There we actually already have kind of a draft scope of work written in anticipation of this. Christy actually helped put that together. And so I think that we could start putting that out and talking to, we know a few firms where we could like put that out and start getting some quotes real quick. And it's up to them and how much time that they have available to start something like this, especially around the holiday season and such. But if they can say, it's mid-December right now, we can work through this thing during the holiday season. If we get somebody on board January 1st, it's a matter of can they turn around and do this sort of thing that's going out and interviewing people and doing all of the homework that they need to do. Hopefully, if there's a local firm, they already know a lot of the community and then don't have to waste time with a lot of that stuff. Not waste time, but you know what I mean, spend time on that. And get some of that stuff, but to be able to like define exactly what we can get from them within 6 to 8 weeks.
That would be mid-February before we would have like even a beginning of a messaging and.
Yeah.
And then that gives us March, April.
Mhm.
I mean, it's actually have them, then there would have to be adjustments to the messaging because they would get information from their listening sessions or whatever.
Obviously, we'll need to do messaging, even if we have the levy.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
there is, like, we have to consider how will that be done, like, I think the messaging we're talking about is for the bond.
Yeah.
And perhaps the levy would be simple enough and urgent enough that the PAC would be able to handle that on their, to some degree on their, like, without,
No, not the full.
Yeah.
Full engagement.
But it's, yeah. It's not like there would be no messaging if we delayed, there'd still need to be some messaging work.
All right, well, I lean towards, my vote is on the levy, make sure we get something solid for the next, which we know we're doing the levy, but just build on that for the next year. And really laser focus and put a lot of work into the levy or the bond in 2027. So I think it's with Christie.
So, just reacting to what Marcy said and having boards kick this down, and kind of brutal, 24, brutal, and that failure. What holds our feet to the fire for May 27th? I mean, I know we do, but there've been too many examples of boards not doing that. And so how do we commit to each other or?
I think we're all struggling with the decision right now to delay it all, so I think that should say enough that we want to get it done ASAP if we can't do it this 2026, so I mean, honestly,
Is that different, Marcy?
Is what different? Having 2 election cycles to go through?
No, just that with what Jace just said, just like our struggle with this and timing and wanting to get it done in May 2026, but having the calendar work against us and thinking about sequencing it in a way that would build off of one to achieve the second in May 2027.
I see the logic. I just don't think that it will. I guess, I mean, I see the logic. For sure.
We will certainly have less information though.
Right.
Because if we don't go out in 26, we're speculating still and getting to 27. Knowing what happened in November, at least with other entities, but not knowing what happened with us. We go out in 26, even if it's in haste, we weren't ready for that messaging that we would have been comfortable with. We don't get it, we know more information by the time we get to May 27.
But how is that gonna really put you in a better place? It's just like going out over and over again.
Did that.
Yeah.
But we've also already gone out once and we've been delayed now and we know what our ask is. So all we're talking about is the messaging and how long it takes to get that out. But we have some of that. Some of that is look at the reduction we've done and look at what we've heard and what we're trying to put forth. And I get it, we're all arguing on what's gonna be the best and give us the best strategic chance to get. None of it's guaranteed.
No.
And so we are balancing what that cost is and what the time frame is and everything. So that's why this will not be a unanimous vote, is because there is just no way to come across it.
And I'll reiterate what Christie said too. I mean, if you guys vote yes, if 3 of you go yes, then we fight hard and do our best we to.
Oh.
I won't be doing it. I won't
It's
be
guaranteed.
working begrudgingly against like, well, I said no.
As hard as I
But,
plan to work,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to work so much harder, and I just understand that from the get-go. I'll even do social media, I promise. But like, I do think personally that we're ready to get at it. We really chomping at the bit, the momentum, you know, the fatigue, the avoidance that. I mean, I'm on board to do all of it, whether it's 26 or 27. Damn, I want to get at it, and I really want to do what we can, given the world we live in right now and all of the struggles and everything else, and be better prepared for tomorrow, for my kids and for the next generation.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen unless we get at it, like Christy said.
Go for it, Brian. You're the new guy. You get to make the final decision.
I just have one thing to add just on your question about like what would be different about this board and about like who's gonna hold our feet to the fire, just to give you and this is just history. So I haven't been here as long as Marcy, but I've been here nearly a decade. And I have seen us get close about 4 times, but 2 times in particular stand out because that's when we really made the decision ourselves to back off. A couple of times, like when the county decided not to support us and such, that was out of our control. The ones that were in our control was in 2018. We originally did the pool study in 2017. And in 2018, we were ready to go. And
25 million.
for 26 million, I think.
Yeah.
26 million or so was what the price tag was. We decided not to go because we wanted to explore the master plan and work with our partners, try and see if there was any sort of appetite to do a consolidated parks district or to do all of these different things. And so we brought together the city, the county, the school district and the port, and we created the parks master plan. But that was the whole thing, was like, let's talk with our partners and let's really, for the first time, get all of the parks providers in the same room and trying to see what sort of things we could get going with it. I supported that. That was, I mean, I will admittedly, I was pushing for that. Let's delay this time. In hindsight, I regret it. The next time was in 2020. It was the spring of 2020. You probably all remember it. And we were planning on going out in the November election. It was a November presidential election. We knew that it was going to be really big. It was Biden and Trump. And we thought, like, we just knew there was going to be a lot of people and such. It was around May or so of 2020 of that year, and we were learning how to do stuff on Zoom for the first time. We were in lockdown, and we just had no idea what November of 2020 was going to look like. We decided, because there was just so much uncertainty, that we said, let's back off on this one. The county went ahead and put their levy out on November of 2020, and it passed. And Portland Parks passed one in November 2020, and the Redmond area aquatic center, theirs passed, and their levy was the one that failed on that one as well, but they did pass that levy. So we did see a lot of other parks levies passed during that same election. Again, I regret that one, that we didn't go. Again, I was one of the ones that pushed to delay at that moment. So those are both, like, even though I was not a voting member, both times I thought that the wise move was not to go at that time. But those were the 2 that I can remember that we did it. And each time I will say that the board had the same discussion of, but we are going to go right back out and do it again this next time. And that next time something else happens, like either COVID happened or something else happened where we weren't able to do it. You don't know what the future is going to be. We don't know what the sentiment is good. It could be better. It could be worse. Interest rates could be higher. They could be lower. We have no idea, but the longer we wait out there, the harder it is to predict what things are going to be in the future. It's much easier to predict like 3-4 months in advance on like what this public sentiment is. Whether or not public sentiment is great right now, I don't think it is. I don't think that's like awesome. But, at the same time, it could be worse than May of 2027. I don't know. The one last piece of just like the timing of levy and bond, whether or not one should come first and one should come second. The one thing that I heard a lot of good discussion on both sides, and again, I don't know, but the one thing that I didn't hear was the transparency piece of it. It's just like people thinking of just like, I think it's incredibly transparent to say, this is what we need it all. We need all of this instead of breaking it up and saying one piece here and one piece there, because I do think that there are people that are not going to listen to the whole message and are going to come back later. I think that both at the same time is probably the clearest way, just to be able to say, like, with a straight face, we told you this is the entire total package and what it was going to cost.
That's what we asked the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes, yes.
it did fail, and I understand that, but I just took the transparency. That was the only things that I kind of wanted to add to the conversation that I did not hear as part of it and such. And again, like everyone else, I will work hard and move toward whatever the decision that goes forward. But those are just two other perspectives, just because Brian had brought up how are we going to hold ourselves to it if we move on with the other one. But that made me think of that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I really, what Marcy said hit me, that if it doesn't pass, we're gonna get like called out and the pool fails. And if it passes, and I think we're gonna get called out. I think Christy and everybody who's really worked on this whole thing has done a great job. You've created a foundation. We listened, we've lowered the price. I mean, there's been more sessions, where people can come and listen, can come and look at the pool. It's like, what else is there that we can change? Not very much. And the pool's gonna fail, like Marcy said. That's a given.
All right. Well,
No, I mean, Christy, with what you said and the work that you put in, I want to be part of that. And I coming into this felt very strongly about 26 for the bond and the levy. Having said that, the frustration I have is the yes, and the dual vote, and I don't know why that's a thing. It is. I want to be available to take whatever burden you need me to bear, because I can do that. And that's why I'm kind of coming down on May 26th for the bond. Yeah. Yeah. I just, I'm, timing is never gonna, be optimal. The timing is never gonna be optimal, but the timeline is working against us. And that's something that May 27 gave us in terms of sequence. Yeah. And I don't want to seem like I'm arguing out of both sides of my mouth, but I don't know how much more we can go back to the electorate with if this doesn't work in May 26th. Well, what would the next thing look like if God forbid? Yeah, that's kind of where I am.
All right. That's our choice then for now.
all right, so we need a motion, I think, at least to make it clear.
Sure.
To go with May 26th for both measures.
I make a motion to go for the proposed bond and levy for the River Parks and Rec District in May of 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Next, I'd like to see if you can authorize me to spend a certain amount on public relations firm. And let me know how much you would like us to authorize. We can change later on, but I can put what sort of a contract to look for.
A shit hot one.
Yeah.
Up to 25 or 30?
Yeah.
We need to reserve, I would assume some for mailers, at least one mailer, an informational mailer. I think we
I
did.
think that's is probably separate of this set of like.
No, not in that, but
Oh.
if like you have 30,000 to work with, for instance, I want to make sure that we would keep whatever we need for at least one mailer
Yeah,
of that.
yeah. We'll come up with the money for the mailer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they're just up to 30,000 for the public relations. Right now.
What, I think you said 20, it was 25 or 30, what was the, I thought 25.
Well, 25 is my threshold to be able to just direct bid, without having to, write a scope, but we do have a scope ready and I can probably fish that around and get, quotes.
But these will allow you to hire somebody without having to have a special meeting and have it, you know.
I don't have a
everything.
special meeting. I can do quotes on my own right there, but I just need to have,
Just to speed it up is all I'm thinking.
it would speed
Yeah.
things up to do it by
Yeah.
under $25,000.
Okay, well then I would say with whatever's the fastest, the most money you can spend and do it at the fastest level you can spend it, that's reasonable.
Well, and we also, the tip that I got from the marketing person is kind of an obvious one, but you can, present your desired scope of work and your budget, and then they can tell you what you can get with that, right? Like, so we might not be able to get everything we want, or we might. So I would think that's probably the
Yeah, well, he needs
right?
the cap though, right?
Yeah, the cap,
So the
yeah.
cap would be 30 or 25.
You can say 30, and if it's under 25, then that will just make it easy for me to go straight for it. But if it's 30 and I'm able to get 3 different quotes, then
And we have 30 that we
then
can
I
spend responsibly.
30 is what I feel like it's a responsible amount.
Okay,
I would like to get 3 quotes anyway.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's
I think,
it's
or at
pretty
least I
big to
could
do.
try to,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And I think, doesn't it work like if you have tried, but you haven't gotten it, you
Mhm.
still have
Yeah.
fulfilled the requirement,
Yeah.
you contact the firms.
Yep.
Yeah.
30 then?
Okay.
So I make the motion to allow up to 30,000 to spend on a PR firm to get this thing passed.
Well, no, you can't, no, it's
No?
not to get the thing
Not
back,
get the thing
to
back.
inform
To
people.
inform,
Yeah,
to talk about.
the work on messaging
To work on
for,
messaging. Does someone else want to put the motion forward?
I think the record reflected.
Yeah, you made the motion just to inform rather
Yes,
than
yeah.
to pass it.
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And I mean, we also, so coming into this meeting before the consideration of 26 versus 27. The goal was to also identify the amount. Now we're already at 9 PM, and so anyway, we want to. Set another time for that, but we need to identify the amount pronto.
Mhm.
If for, not if.
Of the bond.
The bond, yeah, so. The project plan I had written out was then we've got to identify that amount and the components in this meeting and the levy in January, so that we have all that information so that we can start informing people.
So we're working on 42?
What?
42, is that, or what was the number that we're? coming
Well,
with?
so the number from the architects is 43 point
Right.
something. And so how much we're cutting that off and so I think we should talk about whether. We are going to talk about that now, or whether we want to set a time very, very soon. What?
43.
Okay, because of the time we're at and we already have agenda items, reviewing agenda items. We could do I don't know. What would, what do you wanna?
I mean, the amount
Hmm.
is, it's not that we have to have the amount, the amount
Well-
would make sense for us to be able to start talking to, the PR firm and everything. I don't think that we'll be putting this really out there without that. So I think that if we just set a range between 42 and 4 and, I mean, I think that we could take $500,000 off this and think that we'll fundraise at least $500,000.
So do a range right now and then
Between
have
42 and
some
43.
continued conversations with the foundation since they
So-
don't know that this decision is
Right.
this decision now.
Yeah,
And they're gonna need to, as a group, consider
Yeah.
what's feasible.
Yeah.
So rain, okay, see what are you pulling up?
just
Oh, that-
this.
It's basically 43.5, 43.5.
That was, I think that was close to 69 cents.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah. So, okay, so what you wanted to see the dollar? This one. So between. What range is between 42 and 43?
So between 41 and 43 would be my comfort level.
Sorry. And we'll continue conversations, and I don't think we have to have an actual.
$107.
I want it to be a dollar or less, but can't do that. I mean, 39 would be.
$1, yeah, because also with the low, you were talking about January, but you have to consider like our current rate is 0.35. You go up over 0.35, then you're doing over 100% increase, and how is that going to be received?
And we already looked, we can't shave that other thing down to 39, because that's the number we gave them initially. I mean, I thought we talked about it. I mean, there are other,
Which number?
not the other, on the other slide we just had.
The levy amount? Or-
No, the capital amount,
capital.
not if we want what they had proposed, pushing forward. I mean, this would be, we can't really get in and start saying like, I don't think concrete should cost this much and stuff like that. The only way to really shave it down would be to start saying, we want a smaller pool, we want smaller footprints. We want, you know, and I think we've already decided exactly like what we wanted, so I think it's just kind of like, you know, what it costs. Now, there's certain things that will change, that can change bonds up and down, based on when we vote. And I think that's the important thing too, is just to remember that, like, by the time design comes around and we do this, the school district lucked out last time where interest rates just came down
Right.
very low and bids were low and everything like that, and they had lots of extra funding there. But I've seen it happen the other way with like Redmond, where escalation went up and they had to cut a bunch of stuff, so. You know, I think trying to shave 4 million without doing any major design work would be pretty irresponsible.
So then going back to the rates, that chart that you showed us for rates.
Yeah.
You were saying, so what we're talking about is between 65 cents and 69 cents.
There's 67 and 69.
Or 67, 69.
42 and 43.
Yeah, because otherwise, if it's really 43 and a half, is what the quote was from the designers, and so. You're looking, if you go down to 42, you're basically stating that you believe we can come up with another $1.5 million.
Gotcha.
Well, there's also grants, right? There's potentially
grants.
the grants for the outdoor.
Yep.
I feel like, but if we getting less than 5% from grants and foundation fundraising just feels like it's like nothing. I just, to be a notable number, a convincing number that means something, I feel like being able to say 5%, you know, is from grants, and I mean, still that number frankly sounds very tiny, you know, it'd be nice to be able to say.
When you get like 2.5
2%.
million, basically, you're talking about, you're basically 2.5.
Yeah, I
3
just
million.
calculated it's like 2.175.
I'm gonna put this out there too, that we can take a little bit of a risk here as well and back it up with money that we have if we don't get there. So like, let's say we set a fundraising goal of 1.5 million and we don't get there, we can spend SDCs on this. We can spend our improvement funds, which is not, I don't recommend specifically putting it toward this, but if we got into a bind, we tried to fundraise, we tried to get grants and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
We can back it up with other money that we have right there, because like I say, I don't want to put that directly toward there, but I think that that's a good stopgap so that we don't have to worry about being too conservative there. I think I would rather us stretch a little bit further with our fundraising and grant writing goals and things like that and be able to put that into our messaging, and that's what we're doing. And then just know that there is a backup. If we don't get there, we're not going to be saying, sorry, we're not, we
Doing
got
this
some-
one thing or whatever, yeah.
So,
Right. So the net is 67 to 69 then?
So the range is 42 to 43. That's what we're leaving with.
Yeah.
As far as between 42 and 43.
Takes us to $1.07 or $1.05
Well, yeah, so
total.
43.5, so 95% of that is 41.325. If we did the 5% concept,
So we'll say 41 to 43 would be our range.
41 to
Is that fair?
43,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
okay.
Do we need to do a thing?
No, that's
I
more
think
like,
that's
that we
correct.
have some
Yeah.
clearer numbers to work with. Okay.
I think that is all I need, to move forward with that. I will,
All you need.
yeah, I'll go through the rest as quickly as possible here.
Yeah.
West Side Park, I don't know if there's could we delay this one until January? Would that be, Mike, you're the one that has this on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think there's much that can happen in the winter now.
There is not, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really, important to me for many reasons why we brought up the goal setting earlier in the year and we mentioned in the fall. We didn't know we were gonna get what happened with Parkdale Park. And as we talked as a board to message what we have to offer and to create that vision for everyone, I think West Side's a big part of that. And, opening up some gates or taking down some fences is imperative for something we've owned for half a decade now almost, that has been inaccessible to the public. So I'm all about waiting till we can actually do something, but discussing now, taking out trees in the spring at Parkdale and, getting ready for that pushes this back again. And I think that's a disservice to May of 26 and everything else we want to do.
Can we
Hence
please put
why.
this on a high agenda item for the next one? Can we please put this on very?
I mean, I can, if you want, I can talk about it right now. I'm trying
It's
to,
fine. No, that's why I was asking about it last time. I didn't expect to talk about it last time, but
yeah.
we mentioned that it would be discussed in the fall. And so we got to that stage where I wanted to make sure it didn't get forgotten about.
Thank you.
Finance report, everyone has had it in your packet. There hasn't been a lot of changes there except for the revenue, is starting to come in on tax revenue and such. Although not really yet, it's 11%. So we'll see that bump a lot. Because it's November still, the date on that, so next month. Recreation fund, again, looking okay, although total expenditures 31% revenue, 55, that's actually pretty good there, except for, of course, we do still have that the beginning fund balance carryover. Really, you're looking more at the recreation programs of 29% right there versus the 31%, so expenditures a little bit above that. And SDCs is actually the one where we saw the most action in a long time recently. We saw some pretty big SDCs checks coming in recently in the inside urban growth boundary. We're only at 23% there, but still that's a lot better than we have done than usually this time of year. And I think that all came in just last month. And then no movement in the improvement fund. Couple pictures from today. This is our fence right off of Alameda. We actually just put that fence in last year. This is all over the Indian Creek Trail right now. This is the section behind between Arrowhead Drive and the high school. But we saw lots of areas, dozens of trees down. A couple of really large ones, a couple ones that we're having to bring in tree contractors because they're above our staff's ability to feel like they can do it safely. And then Culberson Park is always prone to flooding, but with this stuff, yeah, it's looking pretty bad out there. Pool, we mentioned before, we're going to start closing in January at 6:30 PM. This will help us with some scheduling stuff, and it's kind of a time of the day where sometimes the lifeguards out there for 2 or 3 people, so it just makes sense to go ahead and do it. Plus with our younger staff, making sure that the high schoolers are not working too late in the evenings.
It's actually like Oregon
Yeah,
law
so we'll,
for 15-year-olds.
so it's for 15, yeah, and we had, so try to schedule around that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, like I mentioned, we are still exploring. We have not decided on this yet, but our maintenance staff and the staff there is saying that 1 day a week closing, so like basically let that pool kind of breathe and catch up with filtration is something that they are recommending right now. If we did that, it would probably be on a Monday. Yeah, but we want to talk to a couple of other pool maintenance people too, and just make sure that our logic kind of tracks with this, and talk to user groups as well, and just see whether or not that day is, what day works better than others and that sort of thing. Just make sure that we have like a good, robust public conversation and that we cover all the bases there. But this is just going to be initial conversation. I just want to bring it up with you guys first before we get to that spot. Software update, I can probably give you a little bit better update at another meeting, but really just we're doing a soft rollout. Gio covered it a little bit. He's already started with the spring programs. Some of the questions I think were around like the usability. The reason we chose this software was on the customer side, the customer usability. That's what we heard a lot of complaints of before. We really feel like the customer usability is a lot stronger in this. We're still working out the kinks. But Kelsey especially is the one that's been working really hard on putting this together. It's been kind of her project to work with the consultant and to upload everything and get there. Kelsey and Gio kind of together, but Kelsey has been kind of our point person all along. So big thanks to her and putting this together. Hopefully by February, we will be up and running on just this. We'll still go kind of dual software systems for a little while until we can kind of phase people out. On the punch card thing, we don't want to transfer any of the data from our other systems into this one. We want to start completely fresh with this one. So we're still going to have to kind of run 2 systems for a little while. We have the ability to do that. We just don't want to put that garbage in this one. So we're
Which we might do now.
I've got a bunch on my account. I gotta talk to you guys.
well, no one will lose anything. That's the thing. If anyone has a punch card,
We'll say-
like we can't. By state law, we can't even like say like, hey, we're going to cut off the punch cards at this date or something like that. We have to hang on to those credits forever. So at a certain point, when we get rid of these other software systems, we will do an export into an Excel spreadsheet and we'll have to work out something there. But don't worry, no one's losing their stuff.
I got like hundreds, I think.
And then huge thanks. Again, we could keep on getting these grants and they don't just give them to us. We have to work for them, and Marcy's doing a great job writing these grants. And again, the Columbia Gorge Health Foundation came through with another over $60,000 for the Swim Active RX program. Something I think Mike actually started when he was here. So I remember, I think when we first did it, thinking like, this will be great for this year. We never thought that it would be 5-6 years later that we're still doing it. So,
we were not sure that we were gonna.
Yeah.
They were very low on funding for sure, and decided to only fund Northern Moscow and Google Parks and Rec because of our alignment with the social determinants of health.
Nice. Very well.
and that's it for the director's report. Never the order.
The order is from say goodnight to everybody. All right.
I want to say kudos to all the people who were out cleaning up trees this morning. There were a lot of big trees down. I mean, so I saw Parks and Rec truck driving around. I was like, I bet I know what they're doing. Same time that there were big dump trucks and equipment at West Side trying to clear out some trees that somehow missed the school amazingly. And it was just cool to see like people in our communities. I mean, I know like it's their job, but they're there like first thing in the morning and getting it done. And also heart goes out to those whose homes were affected. There was at least one home near my house
Oh.
where it hit the house, yeah. So, just thinking of those people.
Yes, indeed. All right,
All right.
well, I will move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Hi.
Thanks, Martha.
Thank you for being patient with me. I was